Start of the late pick 4 in about 5 minutes. 2-year-old fillies sprinting 3/4 of a mile, $50,000 allowance optional claimer. Does this feel right to you, Richie, with no more mischief? Again, 4-1 on the morning line for Todd Pletcher, 7-5 with 3 minutes to go.
It doesn't feel right to me. I think she's too short a price for a filly that really had to work hard to break her maiden, was in a dogfight throughout. And those aren't the kind of efforts I think build horses up. I think they can tear them down, in fact. So I don't see her actually moving forward off of that race. And she's going to have to move forward off of that race to handle a few of these.
No more mischief. We'll see if that price fluctuates over the next 3 minutes. So much fun for me. Get to see all my friends I haven't seen since this summer as we welcome in Maggie Wolfendale to the show. Maggie, what are these 2-year-old fillies showing you as we approach post time for the 6th race?
Well, Lafitte, we'll take a look at your favorite in here. That's No More Mischief. Now, what I thought about her in the paddock still kind of rings true today in her second start, in that she's a very, very small type of filly. And so, therefore, she might be A, distance challenged, and B, just maybe not that good. But yes, good things can come in small packages. She is feisty, I'll give her that. And she's sharp for this second start. She's actually more focused than what she is in that debut. But as Richie was pointing out, and I kind of appreciate her tenacity, it still wasn't a big performance, and a performance that makes her a competitor here. But she's young. She could take a step forward as far as speed figures are concerned, but I think the competition just gets that much more, a bit more steeper here. Not that much steeper. As we'll take a look at number 8, Slow Crossing. She kind of won and made me eat humble pie for the fact that I just thought, being a daughter of Street Sense out of a Victory Gallop mare with plenty of route pedigree, that she wanted to go longer than the 6 furlongs. Yet she was able to get up and win, and we'll see what kind of pace setup she gets here today. Now, she's getting a beautiful warm-up from Jose Lescano, and she's actually come out of that race stronger. Her coat looks better. She, to me, is the one that physically has taken the step forward. So I like what I'm seeing from Slow Crossing, though I will be strong in my conviction that she's still going to want to go longer than this eventually. Number 9, Ruski. She switched to the dirt with much success, although she's a daughter of Tourist. I really liked her in the paddock, and then I wasn't that in love with the warm-up, though I had to get my pick before I saw them gallop out off. So I am going to stick with her. She's coming in off the best effort so far of any of these in breaking her maiden. It was a comparable field. It wasn't like she was beating a bunch of bums up at Finger Lakes. And she just looks really, really fit now for her 5th career start. And it's not as if she looks like a turf horse whatsoever. She actually looks like a dirt sprinter. So I do think this is ultimately what she wants to do. So I'm going to take her at 7-2. Lafitte?
7-2, Maggie going with Ruski. What does the 2015 National Handicapping Championship Tour winner think of this 6th race at Aqueduct? We welcome in Jonathan Kinchin. JK, we've reached post time. Who'd you wind up with here?
Yeah, look, I thought the 7, 8, and 9 were the interesting horses. I'm going to ultimately go with the 7 Royal Blue. Still a horse that took money on debut, maiden special weight, came back and ran for 30, and ran well, got a nice speed figure that day. This condition's kind of tricky. We don't see that very often in New York for 2-year-olds. The optional claimer with the kind of starter allowance look. I think that's a little bit interesting. And to that point, the 8, who I wanted to kind of get excited about, who's 5-2 on the board right now, this horse qualifies for this race just because the horse started for 40. They do not have to be in for the tag, and they are. I think that's a little bit interesting that Rudy would kind of put this horse up for a tag in a race where he didn't necessarily have to. I would take that as a vote of lack of confidence. And then the 9, Ruski, another one towards the outside, who I thought has run well, has never run for a tag before, did run up at Finger Lakes, but ran well, got a nice speed figure that day. A little concerning, they started on the turf so many times, finally got that win on the dirt at Finger Lakes. No offense to our friends to the north, but maybe a little bit of a lesser competition when you compare it to what you might see downstate at Aqueduct or Belmont. So ultimately, I'm going to go with the 7 Royally Blue. And Lafitte, it's nice to hear your silky voice. I wish I could see you sometime soon.
Both in New York, and I don't get to see you. That's sad enough. I don't know what title to use for you, JK. Are we still going with 2015 National Handicapping Championship Tour winner? Or 2-time America's Best Racing's People Choice Award winner? Best podcast. Congratulations, man.
Thank you. Yeah, we got 2 trophies now. We got to go for that 3rd one. We got to go for that 3rd one. You can also give me my favorite title is best housemate, and you gave me that because we were neighbors, and I know that it was a highlight of your life.
You know, you're building quite the resume, list of accomplishments. Like, I don't quite know how I feel about it just yet. I'll let you know. Jonathan Kinchin here, two-time People Choice Award winner, best podcast, America's Best Racing, and see if he can peg a winner here at a price going with Royally Blue. Mig, you've been keeping a close eye on these 2-year-old fillies. Have they've completed the warm-up? They've reached the starting gate. Final thoughts?
Yeah, I tell you what, I like the thought about the 7 Royally Blue. I like the way she looked on the racetrack. And the 6 horse is the horse I ultimately landed on. I think she's got speed figures that are good enough. She didn't care for the slop last time. She was second in an open maiden 50 before breaking her maiden against State Breds for 50. And Trevor McCarthy's looking for his 3rd win of the day, his 2nd for trainer Rudy Rodriguez.
In a groove, Trevor McCarthy, Saratoga Kisses as the favorite, just stepped in. No More Mischief. Final check of the tote board reading 2-1. No More Mischief. Post time for the 6 2-year-old fillies sprinting 3/4 of a mile at Aqueduct.
Lady Milagro. Ruski to the outside. All in line. All set. And they're off. Little squeeze at the start. There was No More Mischief is at the back of the field. Speed from the outside from Ruski. From in between horses, there's Kingdom Queen to put a nose in front, and Lady Milagro's at the rail. Also in that early mix is going to be Royally Blue. They're 4 across the racetrack. Taking off the pace is Slow Crossing is back to 5th, followed by Saratoga Kisses. At the rail is Our Tiny Dancer. Towards the back of the field, No More Mischief is second to last, and the trailer is Loose, who's double digits off the lead of Lady Milagro. 22.52. A pumped up opening quarter is widening on the front end. Lady Milagro and Eric Cancel, they're up by 2.5 lengths. Ruski's in second. Slow Crossing starts to progress towards the outside with a driven Kingdom Queen. Also losing ground there was Royally Blue, is back to 5th. Saratoga Kisses from the back of the pack. No More Mischief is still 6 off the lead. The 2 trailers, Our Tiny Dancer and Loose. Lady Milagro went quick, hugs the rail and kicks for home, is still 3 in front. Ruski's got momentum down the center of the racetrack. Slow Crossing is chasing as well as they approach the 8th pole. Kingdom Queen, Saratoga Kisses way back there to Royally Blue and an oncoming Loose. Inside the final 8th, Lady Milagro, Ruski to the outside, and Ruski's put a nose in front of Lady Milagro, who's very game. Ruski, Lady Milagro, down to the wire. Lady Milagro won't give in. Ruski, Lady Milagro, Ruski, Lady Milagro in a photo. 2 noses on the line. Lady Milagro to the inside of Ruski, then Saratoga Kisses and Kingdom Queen in 1 minute 13.55.
I don't know, Mig. Chris Griffin couldn't separate them. Bang, bang finish in the 6th race Aqueduct. Lady Milagro, Ruski hitting the wire simultaneously.
Yeah, Lady Milagro coming off of those longer races on turf, when she showed the kind of speed she did, you knew she was going to have a lot of foundation. And this is a head bob. I mean, it doesn't matter where the rider's position is. It doesn't matter anything but where that horse's nose is on the line. And in that tight shot that we just watched, you can keep it close. We're going to slow it down. The 9 might have got all of that head bob. The 4 is game, fighting inside. Watch the last bob.
Outside, maybe?
That is dead tight. They're so far. Now, here's a little closer shot. It sure looks like the 9 got the best of that bob there, but we'll wait till they post a photo. But I would have swore the first time in real time the 4 hung on, but you always got to watch where the horse's nose is on the line.
Just the right time, maybe. Ruski's nose down in this exciting 6th race. These 2-year-old fillies. Look there at Lady Milagro, Eric Cancel, trying to muscle her to the wire. Was she picked off late by Ruski? Awaiting the results of the photo. Exciting race, and still awaiting to see who the winner was. Now look, deep stretch, Ruski, and as you mentioned, at just the right time, head down the bob with Ruski on the outside, and the photo is available. 9-4-6-5. Ruski by a flared nostril over Lady Milagro.
Yeah, and just, you as a rider, when your body's a little bit behind the other riders, you almost feel like, well, I didn't get there. It doesn't matter. It's where the horse's nose is, and she got all of that bob. That's a bob that if you had Ruski, congratulations. You have Lady Milagro, I'm sorry.
I think Maggie went with her. She said, like what she saw in the paddock, not so much in the warm-up, but she still went with her. And at 7-2, Ruski. What'd you see from the start, Mick?
Keep
Watch
an eye
number
on
3.
the 3 at the start, and they came together. She broke a step slow. Horses are like water, particularly young horses, 2-year-olds. They flow to empty space. When a horse doesn't break head up with other horses, they'll tend to swarm to that spot, and she got pinched back and cost her any chance at the break.
The favorite compromised early. Ruski takes full advantage, 9-4-6-5 at Aqueduct. We'll have those results in just a moment. Turning our attention to another story. Earlier today, controversial trainer Jorge Navarro was sentenced to 5 years in prison. This just happened earlier today. Navarro sentenced to 5 years in prison for conspiracy to commit drug adulteration or misbranding. According to Dave Grenning of the Daily Racing Forum, Navarro gave an emotional speech to the court expressing remorse to the judge. We'll continue to monitor this story. Again, Jorge Navarro sentenced to 5 years in prison. Be right back.
Eclipse champion Blame ranks among the nation's top sires at a fraction of the price. His recent top runners include Aga Khan stud Saidabad, a top performer overseas, stakes winners Mandate, Officiating, Love the Nest, Dancing Kiki, and Blame JD. With success on the track and success in the ring, this proven son of Arch is truly a gold value stallion. Blame, standing at Claiborne Farm.
You're watching America's Day at the Races, as always, brought to you in part by Naira Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime with Naira Bets. Get started at nairabets.com or download the app. Here at Aqueduct, moments ago, thrilling finish. Bang, bang finish between these 2-year-old fillies on the outside by a nose. Ruski over Lady Milagro, Mig.
Lady Milagro did all the hard work. She, coming off a long race, she showed great speed, was hanging in there. Looked like she was going to fend off Ruski, who was relentless on the outside under a very strong ride by Jorge Vargas, a really strong finisher. And he just gets all the bob on the outside with Ruski. Tough beat if you had Lady Milagro. Great head bob if you had Ruski.
How frustrating is that? I don't care if it's a claiming race, it's a stakes race. You for Eric Cancel coming up that close to another win. How frustrating is that?
I can only speak for myself. Everybody deals with it differently. That would eat me alive. I hated getting beat a nose. The shorter the margin of victory, the greater amount of second guessing you do.
Like, I would imagine you'd want to ride in the very next race.
Oh,
in
yeah,
short memory, right?
Just get on with it and try to put it behind you. And then on the way home, be in traffic on the Belt Parkway and be mad all over again.
Not a good combo. Not a good combination. Aqueduct Oaklawn, terrific combination. Oaklawn Park in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Race number 4, an $8,000 claiming event. 6 furlong sprint, 3-year-olds and older. Scratch number 8, Flat Out Justice. Heavy favorite, Secret Courier, odds on at 4-5. You see, the sun's out. Looks like a gorgeous day. Had some rain earlier, so we do have a muddy track at Oaklawn Park. We start with When the Doves Cry, not the song, Prince fans. That's When Doves Cry, but close enough, 8-1. Ramon Vasquez riding. Vasquez actually younger than the song itself by about a year and a half. Bored last night. Richie had some time to look that up. Mind My Time, David Cabrera.
Mind My Time dropping again in class, and actually has races in off-going that put this horse in the frame at a big price.
Just 1 for 12 this year, but second in 2 of his last 3. Olsen, it has been a struggle of late.
Yeah, and it went from synthetic to dirt, and it just seemed to get worse. Switch to dirt really did not help.
Contender in number 4, who we'll see, I promise. That's the 5, Splash for Gold. Best races this year on synthetic tracks.
Another one going from synthetic to dirt, took a little bit of a step backwards.
Splash for Gold. Hopefully a look at Time Heist at some point. The favorite, Secret Courier. Human Element intact. It's M&M Racing. It's David Cohen. It's Robertino Diodoro.
Very strong connections, and they've gotten off to another good start at Oaklawn Park. And David Cohen seems to have kind of found his stride again.
3-time Kentucky Derby winning jockey Calvin Borel aboard.
Yeah, turning back in distance, a horse that is going to have to find his past form. His last couple races left a lot to be desired.
Field for this 4th at Oaklawn. Post time 3 minutes. Odds on. Secret Courier at 4-5. You know, you saw a 3-time Kentucky Derby winning jockey in the post parade. We have a 3-time Derby winning jockey on site, Gary Stevens. Gary, welcome to the show. What are we looking forward to this afternoon at Oaklawn Park?
We're looking forward to, well, I'm looking forward to the sun that finally broke through. It was very foggy here the first 3 races. Couldn't hardly see the horses going down the backside, but the fog is burned off. It's going to get up to about 70 degrees today. So I'm excited about that, but I'm excited about our feature race today, the 8th race, where Coach has not been seen since finishing 9th in this year's Kentucky Oaks. She's going to have to bring her A game today. It's not an easy spot. Competitive bunch of 7 fillies and mares going to compete going 3/4 of a mile. And this race here starting off, yeah, Secret Courier, he's your most likely winner at 3-5 right now. He was claimed back in January for $40,000 for Robertino Diodoro, and taking this drastic drop for $8,000. Hasn't been seen since August 20th at Louisiana Downs. But guys, I'm going to tell you, I know that 3 horse is off form, but if this was a show, and it's not a show, but was the best looking horse out here, had a little pep in his step, and Kelsey Jordan aboard today, or excuse me, Chelsea Bailey is aboard today. And he looked good out on the racetrack. We'll see if that one can pull an upset at 13, or let's see, 13-1. Yeah. Guys, back to you. We'll see you later on.
13-1, Gary. Olsen, while you're looking at When the Doves Cry, but Olsen, Gary pointing out, never mind the form, looks good on the track, and this is one of those races that, look, a little will go a long way. Maybe something like that. Maybe the horse just happens to look a little bit better than he has in recent races. Again, you're looking for anything. It almost feels like a least of the negatives. This is an $8,000 claiming race, all for sale, and a restriction for horses that have not won a race since June 17th.
Yeah, when we talk about lower level horses too, sometimes it creates chaos because it's all about who's good on that particular day. Lower level horses tend to be less consistent than your higher priced horses or your stakes runners that seem to hold their form better. And horses can't talk. They can't tell the trainer if they got up on the wrong side of the stall in the morning. The one When the Doves Cry, just something to think about when you see an Arkansas bred in open company. Not that they can't compete, but if you look at an overall foal crop in North America, it's about 21,000 foals. 150 of those, roughly, give or take, are Arkansas breds. So it expands the gene pool a great deal for them when Arkansas breds step out of Arkansas bred company.
Arkansas bred When the Doves Cry. See how he performs here in his 43rd career start. JK, the favorite, Secret Courier, 3-5. Trustworthy, in your opinion?
Texas breds. Texas breds are trustworthy, Lafitte. That's just a little note to our friends to the north in Arkansas. I like the 6 Secret Courier. And when you say trustworthy, Lafitte, I think the question is when you're dealing with these claiming races, you want to understand what's the purpose. Why do they show up in these spots? We've talked about this before, but M&M Racing, they like to get their picture taken at Oaklawn. They want to win the meet. So when they come back off of a layoff and aggressively drop a horse, for some it might be a negative. For them, to me, it's about moving on from this horse who probably is worth $8,000 in trying to get that picture, get that win to keep them on top of the owner standings. Secret Courier, and the other thing about this is when you're looking at these races, Richie brings up a great point about the Arkansas Breds versus Open. I'll go a little bit deeper. You want to make sure you're reading the conditions of a race. I think I'm guilty of it sometimes. I just jump into the past performances and start looking at the horses. Because in the last race we just watched at Aqueduct, there was a little bit of a hint there with the 8 slow crossing for Rapoli and Rodriguez, who didn't run particularly well. They had that horse in for a tag. That didn't seem right. I think if you can sometimes read the conditions, you'll understand a little bit more. Secret Courier ran extremely well on June 20th and won on May 30th. So kind of sneaks in right in off the goalpost, comes back here for 8,000. I think this horse should be hard to beat if you're allergic to taking a short price like that. I think the 2 Mind My Time. Another one a little bit interesting, has been running for 13,000, 12,000. And another horse kind of right in off the goalpost. June 10th, this horse won. And like we mentioned before, the cutoff was June 17th. Sometimes just, look, there's a long time. The horse has run 4 times, 5 times since then. But sometimes those little bits of edge can go a long way.
Paying attention to the fine print. Texas Breds are trustworthy. Pretty good, JK. Secret Courier, a Kentucky bred, while you're looking at my time. Why, Richie, would a race like this be designed? Why the restriction? Why, June 17th? Again, $8,000 claimers, all for sale for horses that have not won since June 17th. Why?
Well, you're trying to put together a competitive race. You're giving horses an opportunity to get a win that haven't had a win since June, and they're all in the same boat. They're all looking to break through. So I think it gives people an opportunity to get a lower-level horse in a spot where they're competitive, and it makes a great betting race. And really, Oaklawn is all about great betting races. We've seen, big fields and very competitive racing because you get horses from all these different jurisdictions. You're trying to decipher the form and where they came from and how they're going to respond at Oaklawn. I thought the 2 Mind My Time was definitely a contender, a horse that I think really fits. I also thought the 4 Time Heist. If this horse can make the lead in a race that really is devoid of a confirmed front runner, in the mud especially, you're getting to throw kickback, the mud throwing back on other horses. Now, these are older pros, so usually they handle it pretty well, but any edge, and when you get lower-level horses, sometimes you just get confident if they can make the lead and get comfortable.
First or second in 12 of 21 lifetime. Time Heist, most lucrative winter racing in the country. Oaklawn Park in 66 days of racing. Racing in December at Oaklawn Park. And looking ahead to this 4th race, as we have reached post time, $8,000 claimers sprinting 3/4 of a mile. Secret Courier, the favorite at post time. Vic Stauffer with the call. Race 4, live Oaklawn.
They're at the post. They're off. When the Doves Cry breaks well, and so does Time Heist. Here's Secret Courier on the move, and Secret Courier pokes his white blinkers narrowly in front. 2 Dots on the move, so is Mind My Time. Splash for Gold second to last, and the trailer is Olsen. A scramble on for the lead. 3 wide is Secret Courier, 4 wide is 2 Dot. Just inside of those 2 are Time Heist and Mind My Time, all separated by less than a length. Then comes When the Doves Cry. He's 2 from the front, and the 2 trailers are Splash for Gold and Olsen as they round the far turn with Time Heist, now the clear-cut leader. Time Heist is a full length and a half in front. When the Doves Cry is 5th now, but about to move into 2nd, and here's When the Doves Cry in the red and yellow. Meanwhile, Secret Courier has dropped out of it. He's going nowhere top of the stretch. Time Heist and an on-rushing When the Doves Cry right alongside. Time Heist a neck in front. When the Doves Cry with the momentum now, and he puts his neck in front. And When the Doves Cry is now a length and a half in front of Time Heist in 2nd. Then Mind My Time and Olsen. When the Doves Cry. Clear to win. When the Doves Cry won by 2 3/4. Mind My Time was 2nd. Time Heist 3rd. Olsen finished 4th.
Close enough, Prince fans. Not When Doves Cry, but When the Doves Cry. Ramon Vasquez guiding him home. 8th lifetime victory, 2nd at Oaklawn.
Give this horse a really sharp ride. You know, he's able to extricate himself from that rail position, get out in the clear, out of that kickback, and finish strongly. The 4-horse, I thought, gave himself every opportunity going to the lead. 2-horse, Mind My Time, showed speed as well. Race was thrown wide open when the 6, Secret Courier, was just not up to the task today, did not run very well
Any
at all.
excuses or just kind of dull?
He absolutely had a perfect trip. He was sitting off dueling leaders, laying third under David Cohen, and absolutely had nothing.
Results from Aqueduct also. Results Oaklawn here at Aqueduct. What a year for Rob Atras. Saddled first Grade 1 win of the summer at Saratoga. This race isn't that big, but he'll saddle a contender more grateful to be ridden by Kendrick Carmouche. Leading rider very early at the meet. Carmouche back from injury and riding well.
Good Magic's in front. Good Magic pulls away from Solomini. Good Magic's gonna win his first race, and he's gonna do it in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Good Magic to the front of the field in the Toyota Bluegrass to win it. The champ is back. Good Magic in a good-looking performance.
800,000, 75, 875, 8.5. Pete, 775,000. Thank you.
Magic's in front.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit nairabets.com.
This is the horse.
Is just too good.
This is the horse who became only the second champion 2-year-old to win the Travers in 3 decades. This is the horse who is the only Breeders' Cup juvenile hero ever to lift the Belmont Stakes. History-making brilliance. That's his essential quality. Essential quality. This is the horse. Just imagine.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us here on America's Day at the Races as we have a contentious Open 40 hitting the track. Now, let's take a look at your current second choice. That's Zoomer as he goes second off the claim for trainer Rob Atras. He's also turning back. Now, a lot of times he's turned back's work. If I have to judge him purely on what I see physically, he doesn't look like a sprinting type, but he has run and won and run fast sprinting in the past. He's just, I wish he was a little sharper heading into this turn back effort. But the horse to beat is the drop down for Brad Cox, number 7, Answer In. Brad has great numbers with 50% drops in claiming tag in dirt sprints. He is 19 for 61. That's 31%. Comes out of a tougher, much tougher race. And honestly, Lafitte, as I get it back to you, he looks best in this field. Just so well muscled, so strong, and very sharp heading into this race today.
Looks the part, Maggie. See how he performs in about 5 minutes. Post parade, we're looking at easy shot. Eric Cancel just missed in the 6th race at Aqueduct. Richie there is heavy roller and outsider with Jackie Davis.
Yeah, a real outsider. Has races in the past that would have been competitive, but recent form wouldn't be there.
Familiar name, Answer In. Kentucky Derby contender at one point last year.
Yeah, and you know, they got realistic with this horse. They gave him every opportunity to turn out to be fulfill that potential. He's in for 40. That's where he belongs.
Mount Travers out, First Homestead in would be a big surprise.
Be a big surprise, but this horse will have a say in how this race is run because he possesses a lot of early speed.
So does Al Cools. That could be a thorn in his side. First Homestead drawn right to the inside of Al Cools.
Yeah, the good thing for Al Cools, though, is he's being outside of him. At least it gives him an opportunity to find his stride. He is not under pressure from outside horses that have speed. I always tried to use it as an opportunity to give my horse an 1/8 of a mile. He's going to be close because he has natural speed. I'm not forced into anything.
Field for the 7th of 9 at the Big A. Post time in 4 minutes. You're looking at Al Cools. I bet his sire, gemologist in the 2012 Kentucky Derby, didn't work out. Let's go back to that last race we mentioned. Mid-September, Richie Belmont, Al Cools in front, in command, Half-Eat Farm on the attack on the outside.
Yeah, and listen, Al Cools set very fast fractions this day. It looked like he was ripe to be picked off, and he just was determined, would not allow the runner-up, Happy Farm, to get by. And, you know, I don't think he's going to have to face these kind of fractions. So how could Happy Farm turn it around? Happy Farm is making his first start for a new stable, but he's come out of some very good stables.
So how do you expect things to shape up early on?
I feel like the the 9-horse First Homestead goes. Okay. And I do think Al Cools is laying second in the clear, get that good stalking spot, kind of keep things packed up as much as he can to the inside of him. I always loved when I was the main speed drawn out outside a cheap speed horse, because I would use that horse almost like a running block.
Sure.
And also, horses get confident. When you take a horse that's maybe overmatched and your horse takes them easily, they really blow up. They get big underneath you. So sometimes you use that horse almost as like a pacemaker.
JK, how confident are you about this 7th race? Are you blown up, feeling good with 3 minutes to post? Who you like?
Yeah, I'm always feeling good until they cross the wire and I was wrong. So people always ask me, do you like this bet today? Do you like it today? I always like it until I don't like it anymore. Look, I think the 3 Happy Farm is one that's interesting, switching to the Wayne Potts barn. This horse was entered in a stakes race. Now, whatever, they might have entered there to see if maybe what would happen, see if it comes up light, and they decided to not. But I think it's a little bit of a positive. November 27th, they felt like this horse could be competitive in a stakes race. Shows up in here for a tag. We'll see if this horse can run well. Definitely has some back races, has some tactical speed that suggests that Happy Farm could be one of the horses that you want in here. And then the 7 Answer In, who's obviously taking the money. It's a horse that was the favorite in the Southwest. That's pretty strong. To take that much money in a big 3-year-old race like that leading in to the Derby Trail. Obviously didn't really necessarily pan out. I think they tried the horse a couple times long. I think maybe the cutback race back in June is the reason this horse is being favored. Ran a huge number. I just think it's a little bit of a concern that LaPinta and Madigan are giving up on the horse when so recently the horse had such a big race. Think about it. Back in June 25th, this horse ran huge. Then they try the dirt at Saratoga. That doesn't go well, but the horse was bet that day. Then they come back in October. The horse doesn't run poorly. And now they're just, all right, we're in for a tag. I thought that was a little bit confusing. We'll see what happens. I do think the 3 is the value of the race, but I do think the 7 has the best back races. We'll see which one shows up.
Back class, yeah. Derby prospect at one point last winter. Answer In the favorite, 6-5, Maggie. But what about the gelding drawn inside in More Grateful in that strong tandem? Rob Atras, Kendrick Carmouche.
You said it. I think that makes this horse that much more appealing because the fact of the matter is he's coming off of a poor effort, Lafitte, for the 45 against state breds. Now, they opt to drop him a little bit in class. Now, I might interpret that as a little bit of a negative because the optional 45s for the New York breds do often go. I like the appearance of this horse. I could not fault him whatsoever. His energy is good, which sometimes when he's more quiet, he doesn't run as well, but he's energetic with Kendrick aboard. He looks fantastic. We'll see what he does. Now, number 3, Happy Farm. I was skeptical of him coming back off the slight layoff in September. He looked great in the paddock, probably the best I'd seen him. I wasn't enthralled with what I saw out in the racetrack. You know, he has not the greatest feet, and he just looked tender on his feet, but he still ran really well that day. Now another break. It looks as though they have some corrective shoeing on him. He's actually moving a bit more comfortably out there today. I just can't fully trust him. But I can see why he's a player, why he may win here off the Wayne Potts claim. And then we'll check in with number 10, Al Cools. I love the angle with the Chris Englehart horses going turf to dirt, but he got fairly washy, and I've just seen him make a better appearance in past efforts, Lafitte.
So it doesn't look his very best. Al Cools looking to go back-to-back. Will be the last to load. Mig's top selection here, Al Cools from the outside. It is post time. Chris Griffin with the call. 7th race, live, Aqueduct.
All set. And they're off. Throwing the head at the start was Al Cools, but broke very quickly from a far outside post. More Grateful down towards the inside, and they both fly early pace duel here. First Homestead is going to track off of them in third at the rail. Red Cap, that's Happy Farm in fourth. That one's followed by Answer in the fifth spot. Zoomer's taken sixth. Towards the back of the field, Heavy Roller, an Easy Shot. They've got Pace to Chase, a pace duel on the front end. To the outside, it's Al Cools. To the inside, More Grateful, and they take it into the far turn. Now More Grateful has put a neck in front. 22.59 that opening quarter mile. Al Cools is losing some ground there in the second spot. Answer In is progressing from third. Happy Farm is right there under a drive. Zoomer is launching from the back, is taken fourth with a wide rally. In between horses there, First Homestead, the rest with some running to do. More Grateful has kicked on, is up by 2. Al Cools is dropping back. Answer In is ready to engage this leader. More Grateful's got some up top. It's More Grateful in front. Answer In gets closer within a neck of this leader. Here comes Answer In to the outside. More Grateful battles on for a final eighth of a mile. Answer In has put a nose in front. More Grateful's not done to the inside. Zoomer is on the scene late. Answer In's got the lead. Zoomer up on the outside. Answer In, Zoomer. Answer In will get it. Zoomer there for second. More Grateful. Then came Al Cools in 1 minute, 11.38 seconds.
Driving finish in the 7th at Aqueduct, and the favorite delivers. Answer in those Bob LaPenta colors for Eclipse Award-winning trainer Brad Cox. Manny Franco, the winning pilot.
Set an absolutely picture-perfect trip when the one-horse More Grateful and the 10-horse Al Cools got hooked up in a spirited pace battle. He was just lurking off the pace, laying third, watching things kind of unfold. Manny Franco, strong finisher, goes to engage him in the 3/16 hole, and More Grateful did not go away. He kept fighting for it. He put Al Cools away and still had some fight left, but the perfect trip, drop down, Answer In, wears him down. Zoomer with a big run from off the pace to get up for second late. Made it a little bit close on the wire for Answer In.
Had to time that one just right, Manny Franco, with Answer In, not waiting too long. Finally putting away More Grateful, but not wanting to move too soon in case Answer In came up short late. Zoomer putting in that big late run.
It's always a balance. You know, when do I go after the horse on the lead? When do I engage him? You have to respect him. He's a horse that comes from top connections. But you've also got to have a little bit of confidence that that pace duel softened him up enough that you're going to get him. Don't want to move too early and then be ripe to be picked off by a horse like Zoomer, who finished very well on the outside.
Sal Cummins, Madacat Stable. Bob LaPenta. Answer In for Brad Cox. Manny Franco, 7-4-1 in the 7th race at Aqueduct. Results when we come back. Also just getting into the teeth of the Friday program at Oaklawn, where the Pick 5 looms. All starts with a very good maiden special weight event for 2-year-old fillies. That's next on America's Day at the Races on Fox Sports 2.
Spun to Run. In the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, he defeated a loaded field that included multiple Grade 1 winners Omaha Beach and Improbable. His brilliant speed figures were among the fastest of any 3-year-old at a mile or more. And he hails from the legendary Danzig sire line. Multiple graded stakes winner, millionaire, Breeders' Cup champion, Spun to Run, standing at Gainesway.
You're watching America's Day at the Races. Gorgeous shot of the Brooklyn Bridge, as always, brought to you in part by Naira Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime with Naira Bets. Get started at nairabets.com or download the app. Your old stomping grounds, Mig. Brooklyn and Aqueduct.
Yeah, absolutely.
Track's all-time leading jockey, Richie Migliori. Manny Franco, the winning jockey in this one. Answer in, just too good, too fast, too classy for this group on this afternoon.
Yeah, and not only be the best horse dropping in class, but work out the best trip. And I always look at riders and try to give their, what their strengths and weaknesses are. One of Manny Franco's strengths is his athleticism. He is so strong, and he's just such an athlete. He's a guy that you could see will play any sport well.
See, that you bring up a good point as you look at the results. I think with a lot of younger athletes, you see a lot of kids playing one sport year-round. Baseball, basketball, football, soccer. You don't necessarily see the well-rounded athlete. Manny Franco grew up idolizing Derek Jeter, wanted to be a shortstop. So it's a great point in terms of he didn't just learn how to ride. He's a terrific jockey, but first and foremost an athlete.
Yeah, and watch him go play in the Jockey Trainer basketball game in Saratoga. Yeah. He's an athlete, and you can't teach that either. You have that or you don't. But physically, he's very gifted, very strong guy.
Did you wrestle?
Yes.
I don't mean just brawling in the jocks room with other.
No. In middle school, before I left to go to the University of Belmont Park, I wrestled, but I won more matches by forfeit because they didn't have guys in my weight category.
A win's a win, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
A win is a win. It's the athlete. The riders here at Oaklawn in the 5th race, gearing up, 9 minutes out. Good 2-year-old filly race to start the late pick 5, mile and a 16th. We mentioned the most lucrative winter racing in North America here at Oaklawn, $84,000 purse. 2-year-old fillies maiden special weight. Who knows who could emerge from this field of these 2-year-old fillies that will all be 3 in a couple of weeks. They make the turn. We kick off the post parade, starting with Dun Vegan Doll, drawn inside in the first of 2 for trainer Kenny McPeak.
Has foundation, has 2 starts around 2 turns, 3 starts in total. By Liam's map, certainly could take a step forward.
Run the tap, well-bred filly. McPeak trainees will break side by side.
I think this is a very intriguing runner. She's a half to Holiday, a stakes winner going along, grade 1 winner actually on the turf. The mare, her mother was a stakes winner, graded stakes winner going long. I think she's really going to appreciate the stretch to 2 turns.
We'll revisit what her big brother did at Saratoga a couple of years ago in a moment. Most impressive, a non-factor in her September debut at Churchill.
Yeah, stretches out, but she's a half to Momos, who's a sprinter, primarily a turf sprinter.
Christophe Clement ran in a Breeders' Cup race.
Yep.
Debuted at Saratoga. By Camero, California Invader, 3rd in the Grade 1 Del Mar Debutante.
Yeah, drops in class out of a Grade 1, but her pedigree doesn't scream that she wants to go long. I think there's a lot to other horses to look at.
Clay's Cloudburst struggled at long odds in her first pair.
Yeah, is going to really have to find a race that she hasn't shown in her first 2.
Out on the outside, Mariah's Fortune, strong connections, owned by Steve Landers, trained by Brad Cox, ridden by Florent Giroux.
Yeah, I think that's probably the strength of the money she's taken is the connections. Florent Giroux and Brad Cox are formidable together.
Promising freshman fillies. Start of the late pick 5 in 4 minutes. Oaklawn Park on a muddy track. Hall of Fame jockey Gary Stevens standing by. Gary, what are you noticing from these 2-year-old fillies? Starting with the beautifully bred number 2 filly, Run the Tap.
Well, what I noticed when she came on the racetrack, she was a little bit green with the pony. She kind of froze up a little bit, backed up, took a look over her shoulder at me, and then went on about her business. And as they went on, the pony was able to grab a hold. The pony rider was able to get a hold of her at that point in time, and she's really got a step in her, bounce in her step as she was coming by me in a good way. Not overexcited, just on her toes. So I liked what I was seeing with her. But the 5 filly, by Cameron, she's a beautiful filly. Her coat, she's slicked off, coming from California, obviously. She's been in the nicer weather out there. I don't know if she's been clipped or if she's just carrying that coat, but she's a gorgeous filly, very relaxed. And, yeah, there's a question mark as far as how far she wants to run. But she is a grade 1 place filly already. So she's a lot more valuable now than when they bought her. I can tell you that. She looks the part, and if she will get the route of ground, I think that she probably towers over these fillies. But listen, Run the Tap. Vegan Doll, the one filly. She's got a license to like the 2 turns. She's run decently, but Run the Tap, I loved what I saw with her, guys.
Run the Tap, Gary, and there she is at 3-1. We mentioned those strong bloodlines. Everyone knows her half-brother that Richie mentioned, right? Halliday, named after the late, great Hall of Fame pitcher. This was the Grade 1 4-star David, Saratoga, summer before last. Richie, Halliday just too fast to catch.
Yeah, and he was in raging form at the time. Now his sister's running on dirt. He was predominantly a turf performer.
I'm more impressed now. Look who he beats.
Yeah.
2-time 4-star Dave winner Got Stormy, the history-making mare.
Yeah, Got Stormy made a bold run at him. He actually jumped back to his left lead to find more. You can kind of see he's one of those horses that run mean. His ears flat against his head, kind of gives other horses the evil eye. I wonder if his sister, who is also gray, has that same kind of attitude. She is by Gunrunner. Gunrunner, one of the hottest first-crop sires out there. 21% winners with his 2-year-olds. 40% winners on wet tracks.
Wow.
26% with sprinters, 15% with rooters, though. But her female side really strengthens her, what it appears to strengthen her ability to go further.
It works here with a muddy track in terms of bloodlines with Run the Tap and Gunrunner being the sire. You say runs angry. I picture Larry Zonka. Like John Riggins are the names that come to mind.
Put their head down and just run through things, run through a brick
No
wall.
hole, I will create one.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, Larry Zonka, you go back to that perfect Miami Dolphins team, 72.
Dolphins team. They have
Yeah.
that party every time
Bob was
last undefeated team suffers their first
quarterback
defeat.
was Greasy.
Greasy.
Jim Kick, Larry Zonka.
Greasy and Zonka are the two. Was Shula?
Don Shula
He
was the
coaching?
coach, yeah.
He coached for a long time. Phew. Wound up talking 72 Dolphins, undefeated. Run the Tap, not undefeated. 4th in her debut. 5-2 here. And I think that while you look at the wagering, start of the late pick 5 here at Oaklawn, this 5th race, Gary mentioned it with bicameral and how hard it is to ignore the fact that she's already Grade 1 placed. She was 3rd in the Grade 1 Del Mar debutante. And it's from a class standpoint, and you're looking at this group of maidens, non-winners, and a Grade 1 play. I think that from that, she makes it, but 4 to 5 feels a little short. And I think that's that trance you kind of fall into in this situation, considering she's already Grade 1 placed.
Well, yes, but I'm going to play devil's advocate here. She was beaten 14 lengths.
I hear you.
She was in another area code, basically. Somebody was going to be 3rd. I just question the stretch out. I just don't see that being a friend to her with her pedigree. She's also, her Grand Dam Song of Africa was a really nice race mare around here in New York. I used to ride for John Kimmel. Looked like she'd go long. She could get 7/8, and that was it. She'd top out at 7/8. And you would be convinced she'd go further the way she traveled. And with not a lot of proven form to go on, one of the tools we use is looking at pedigree. And at 4 to 5, I just don't think going long is going to be a friend to her.
No problem for her sire, Constitution, a Florida Derby winner at 1 1/8, would have been favored in a Kentucky Derby. Was a defection. I can't quite remember why. Some sort of minor injury. Terrific Stallion, great racehorse, Constitution. But your concerns, not unfounded. I get it, about how effective she'll be at this longer distance bicameral.
She may win at a short price. I'm looking for an alternative because I do think that there's a potential, just weakness there from a pedigree standard. She is out of a Song and a Prayer mare. Song and a Prayer set the fastest first fraction in the Kentucky Derby ever.
Opening half mile, Song and a Prayer, Millennium Wind, Balto Star. Lighting it up early in that 2001 Kentucky Derby. And part of the reason Point Given closer to that pace and was neutralized. Also the really hard track, and the reason Monarchos was able to win from 25 lengths back or whatever it was. Nearly as fast as Secretariat.
Well, if you go back to Monarchos' Florida Derby, and he
Awesome.
made about a 5/8 of a mile run at Gulfstream and looped the field, that pointed him out as a true player in the Kentucky Derby.
Do we have a future star in this field? We'll find out. Start of the late pick 5 post time. 2-year-old fillies live from Oaklawn and Vic Stauffer.
They're off. Most Impressive wins the break from Mariah's Fortune in second. Bicameral splits horses in third. Run the Tap was very slow into stride, but now she's moving alongside stablemate Dunvegan Doll, and the early trailer is Clay's Cloudburst. So it's Most Impressive and Mariah's Fortune to the backstretch. Most Impressive, a length and a half in front. Mariah's Fortune is second by 2 lengths to Bicameral, well placed in third, with Dunvegan Doll just there at the rail. Then comes Run the Tap, the gray, fifth and about 5 from the front, and a neck in front of Clay's Cloudburst as they run up the backstretch with Most Impressive, the leader. Most Impressive, just over a length in front of Mariah's Fortune in second. Dunvegan Doll, Bicameral, and now Run the Tap trying to split horses. They all race about 3 from the front. Clay's Cloudburst is still the trailer. There's a half-mile left to run. Most Impressive, now only a half length in front from Mariah's Fortune, who's sitting in a perfect spot in second. Then comes Bicameral, 3rd and 2 from the front. Dunvegan Doll is all in. Run the Tap has backed out, joined by Clay's Cloudburst, and they run around the far turn, and we have a new leader. It is Mariah's Fortune, who takes charge at the top of the stretch, and she looks like she'll be tough to catch. Mariah's Fortune at the top of the lane, a 3.5 length lead on Most Impressive in second. Dunvegan Doll is moving up outside of that one, and now takes second, but meanwhile, Mariah's Fortune is 6 lengths in front. Dunvegan Doll is second, then comes Most Impressive and Run the Tap, but it's Mariah's Fortune just running up the score. Mariah's Fortune in front. Mariah's Fortune won by 7.5. Dunvegan Doll was second, Run the Tap third. Most Impressive finished fourth.
Most Impressive, the winner. Mariah's Fortune, Most Impressive by daylight. Impressive score here. Mariah's Fortune in the 5th at Oaklawn. Your concerns about the favorite here, Bicameral, not unfounded. Spinning her wheels rounding the far turn.
Yeah, it looked like she had position enough to go on and just made a half-hearted run coming to the quarter pole and then kind of, folded her tent, backed up. Mariah's Fortune, though, she looked a winner every single step of this race from break to the finish. She was always traveling under Florent Geroux. We talk about these connections, Brad Cox and Florent Geroux. You just have to respect them no matter what kind of horse they have in any kind of race.
Salute from Geroux. They'll team up with Coach later on in the feature Oaklawn. Meantime, here at Aqueduct, jockey Dylan Davis, I'd be smiling too. Won the first stakes race of this winter meet at Aqueduct, glass ceiling and the Garland of Roses last weekend. Just a big year for Davis. Lots to smile about. And in moments, he'll look to pad his 2021 stats aboard Jade's Jelly in the Aqueduct feature.
Hall is hands down one of the most impressive horses I've ever seen physically.
Independence Hall is pouring it on here in the Nashua Stakes, won by maybe a dozen lengths.
Independence Hall wins the Hagyard Fayette.
You don't have to be a multi-millionaire to get into this game. You can have a few $1,000s and have fun with it. But with the bonds, you're actually going to win. I've had the opportunity to win multiple races. In fact, this year I won 2 times in one day, which is almost unheard of to be able to do. This is going to happen with them. You will get into the winner's circle in Saratoga. You will walk that horse in, and you will stand there, look at the crowd, and the bonds will take you there and get you into that winner's circle. And it won't cost you a lot of money.
Smile Happy was a TDN rising star following his maiden win at Keeneland. From there, he captured the Grade 2 Kentucky Jockey Club Stakes to remain undefeated and earning points toward the Kentucky Derby. In Future Pool 1, Smile Happy was individual leader by lowest odds. Among the top of his crop by stakes winners and earnings, Run Happy continues his rise and is priced for success. Call today and book your mare to Red Hot Sire Run Happy, standing in legendary Stall 1 at Claiborne Farm.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. Use promo code TRYRTN for a 5-day free trial.
So glad you could join us on America's Day at the Races. As always, brought to you in part by Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual unusually well. Time for today's main event at Aqueduct. Horses in the paddock. You see the updated odds. Very competitive allowance sprint. $82,000 purse. We check in with Maggie Wolfendale in the Paddock. What are you noticing here? Starting with number 1, Fight On Lucy for Pat Kelly.
Yeah, New York bred who is dropping out of those New York bred stakes, Fight On Lucy. And, you know, 3 back when she won, yes, she got the right kind of setup, but she was pretty impressive that day, beating some nice fellow New York breds. She looks great in the paddock this time around. You know, she's not that devoid of early speed, not that there's a lot in here. So I would love to see Benji Hernandez, who is her regular pilot, keep her somewhat engaged in the early pace of this race, but so healthy, dappled head to toe. Love what I'm seeing. Now, number 4, Eloquent Speaker, she returns just off 6 days rest. And Natalia Lynch, she hasn't been training that long, but first off, the claim stats aren't great. 1 for 20. But that one winner was when she claimed a horse and brought it back off short rest. That was Halo City earlier this year. So I like what I'm seeing from Eloquent Speaker. I know it says awkward stride. She was actually jumping the tire tracks in that last race. I think she looks great here. She's very sharp as well. Looks to sit that nice stalking trip. Lafitte?
Good stuff, Maggie. And with the jumping of the tire track, something to keep in mind, looking at that trouble line with Eloquent Speaker first after the claim, Talia Lynch. Post-parade for the Aqueduct feature, you're looking at Jade's Jelly and Dylan Davis in the saddle.
Can be speedy at times, but she has bad gait habits. It's all about how she catches the break.
Something to watch at the start. Happy Sophia, 16th start this year.
Yeah, she put together back-to-back wins at Belmont during the fall meet, more of a closing type.
On the outside, Firing Carol needs to step it up, overmatched in her last few.
Yeah, it was in better form the spring of the year. Recent form's kind of tailed off a bit.
Filly and Mare sprinters in the feature here at Aqueduct. Post time 5 minutes. Tepid favorite. Eloquent Speaker at 3-1. You're looking at number 5 in Jade's Jelly and Dylan Davis. Just before the break, we were touching on the year that Davis has had here. Richie, talented rider. And big year, big number. And the first Grade 1 victory at his career at Woodbine, the Grade 1 E.P. Taylor with Muta Makina in October.
A huge win, huge accomplishment. And it helps you with other trainers. When trainers see a horseman like Christophe Clement have confidence in you, stick with you in a Grade 1, puts you in those high pressure, high profile situations, and you deliver a flawless ride, it's always only going to build business. Success breeds success. Plus, for his confidence level, I will say this, Dylan has matured incredibly over the last year and a half. Physically, he's a much stronger rider. He went from, you know, that kind of, you know, boyish, you know, to being a man, really developing. And his preparation, he's so much more prepared. He's so much more disciplined. His approach has really taken another level, and that comes with maturity. I really like the evolution of what I've seen from him. Always talented, is maximizing that talent.
You know him well. You know him well. What do you think led to, I don't want to say a rededication, but you talk about the preparation and the maturity. What was it that led him to say, okay, this is what I need to do in order to get that much better and take my game to the next level?
Interestingly enough, he was injured in March. And I actually think the injury, the time off, allowed him to almost get a better overall view of things, where he was outside the game. It's hard to really see the forest through the trees, if you will, when you're doing it every day. But now he's outside the game, wanting to get back in it and start, you know, realizing and understanding what he needed to do, how he could do it better. You know, we've had a lot of conversations about how to maximize your ability and your talent and be disciplined and, you know, being prepared. I think that time off actually made it sink in.
You see, JK, like preparing really can make a difference.
Yeah, that's what they say. Look, I think there's a couple of horses in here that are interesting. The 4 Eloquent Speaker. This is a horse that if you look on paper, I just didn't quite see it as being the favorite. Hasn't won in quite a while. Speed figures don't stand out tremendously. Horse can absolutely win, but I ended up going with a 3 Bastet. I thought this horse made a little bit of sense. Has some tactical speed, ran well last time after switching to the new barn. Kind of got stuck down on the inside, getting pressure from the outside. I think that's the worst place to be in kind of a speed duel. But like I said, has some tactical speed to be able to try to get out of that situation. Is up in class, and so there is that obstacle that you have to work through. But I do think from a value standpoint, getting 5-1 on the 3 Bastet feels a lot better to me than getting 5-2 on the 4 Eloquent Speaker. Let's just see what kind of trip Eloquent Speaker works out. It's one of those situations where we've heard Andy Sterling say it all the time, and other horse players when they say they knew. I mean, they're betting Eloquent Speaker like they know that she's going to run well. I just don't quite see it on paper for her to be the favorite, but I'm hoping that Maggie can give me a little bit of more of a push that my choice here, the 3 Bastet, looks like she might run her best race.
If you would have asked me 5 minutes ago, JK, I would have said absolutely not. I didn't necessarily like what I saw from Bastet in the paddock. She is a filly that does struggle to carry her weight and conditioning, but that kind of got flipped around when I saw her warm up. She's definitely moving better than anybody else out there. Now, let's call it a spade a spade. This is not a strong allowance race whatsoever. And I think that's why we see Eloquent Speaker as the favorite. She just, as far as class lines go, she just kind of looks to be the class of the race. And speaking of maybe not having the most classiest mind is number 2 Madeira, as she was first trying to rear up on the racetrack, as we see Elsa Morrison, who did get her first win here in New York, in the United States, actually is a 2-time winner in Canada, earlier on the card. Then she started throwing herself down, and well done to Elsa and the outriders to get her over to the backside. She's just, when horses act like this mentally, I typically take it as a negative, Lafitte.
Alyssa Morrison, Maggie, Madeira, and how exciting that must have been for her earlier today, winning here at Aqueduct.
Yeah, and you know what? She's had a couple of really good seconds earlier in the meet. She's been putting horses in position to win from, and she's hit the board on several long shots. I tell you, like, one thing, it's like a pet peeve of mine. When you have a horse acting up like that and a horse that tends to go up, I don't like when I see riders take their feet out of the stirrups.
Why?
Because if a horse happens to go up and lose their balance and they fall over, it's very hard to get away from them then.
Keep him in the stirrups, jocks. Keep him in the stirrups. JK and Mig going with Bastet, the quick filly. Maggie going with Eloquent Speaker in this Friday feature at Aqueduct. Chris Griffin standing by with the remainder of the load and call post time race 8 from the Big A.
Firing Carol, last to load to the outside. All in line. All set. Open at the front of the gate there, lunging was Fight On Lucy. The front of the gate did open. Assistant starter is now closing the front of the gate. Getting repositioned here. We're set. And they're off. Step slow for Jade's Jelly at the back of the field. Bastet has speed from in between horses. Madeira's on the early mix as well. 3 wide. That's Eloquent Speaker on the far outside. That's Happy Sophia. Firing Carol is 5 wide up the backstretch as Jade's Jelly slips through to the inside, has taken the 4th position. The trailer is Fight On Lucy. They work up the backstretch. Madeira's got the lead. It's Madeira who's up by 3/4 of a length. Bastet is challenging right to the outside in second with 4 furlongs left to go. Eloquent Speaker is making up some ground from third. Firing Carol's been wide. Happy Sophia has taken the 5th spot. Jade's Jelly is dropping back, and still the trailer. Fight On Lucy, 22.82, the opening quarter mile. Madeira's got the lead. Bastet gets closer, is right there in second. Eloquent Speaker is going to tip out 3 wide. Firing Carol is starting to run on with Happy Sophia. They've got a quarter mile left to go. Top of the stretch, they went 46.75 for that half-mile time. Bastet from in between horses and an oncoming Eloquent Speaker. Down to the inside is Madeira. Also a late rally from Firing Carol. 8th to go. It's Eloquent Speaker in front. Eloquent Speaker is going to have to hold off an oncoming Firing Carol up on the outside. Eloquent Speaker, Firing Carol. Eloquent Speaker, Firing Carol. Eloquent Speaker gets the win. Firing Carol there for second. It's tight. A photo, Madeira to the inside of Bastet in 1 minute 12.21 seconds.
The quick turnaround. First after the claim, Talia Lynch and Eloquent Speaker in the feature at Aqueduct.
And sat that perfect trip. And pace stool kind of developed. The two Madeira went. And Bastet, Trevor McCarthy took back a little bit off her, but Elegant Speaker always looming right in behind him in third under Eric Cancel. Came wide for the stretch drive and just drew off as much. The best, I guess they did know. And how about they run from the outside filly, the 7 Firing Carol, and Jalen Samuel lingering on her left lead, never switched over to her right lead, but came with a good, solid late run. Finally changed leads with about 70 yards to run when the race was decided. But that was more like her effort back in June at Belmont.
Pre-race, you mentioned Jade's Jelly had some trouble, a history of getting out of the gate clean. That issue was an issue once again.
See, the reason that she doesn't break very sharply sometimes is a lot of times her first step is up, not forward. She kind of jumps up and then pushes off. That's a length right there. You can't readjust in midair and keep your position. She's her own worst enemy because she does it on her own. It's almost like she's too anxious, and she tends to go up in the air first and then out.
Especially for a filly who does her best running on or near the lead, Jade's Jelly. Things not working out for her today. Maggie pointed out that Talia Lynch didn't have the best numbers first after the claim, just 1 for 20, but she pointed out that the win that she had was a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
Short rest. Same approach today. Lynch with Eloquent Speaker, first after the claim, and less time in between races.
Yeah, and in a day and age when a lot of trainers are reluctant to run horses back off a short rest, I think we find out that some horses actually respond well to it.
Eloquent Speaker did. Back in 6 days and right to the winner's circle. Results when we come back. Also, his dominance continues. Brad Cox poised to successfully defend that Eclipse Award title. Has In Dreams going in the 6 at Oaklawn, ridden by Florent Giroux. He's piloted a pair of Oaks winners for Brad Cox. Strong team looking to do more damage in Hot Springs. Next.
A Grade 1 winner of nearly $2 million, Silver State hails from the sire line of legendary Claiborne Stallion Danzig. And his second dam is full sister to Kentucky Derby winner Monarchos. After winning the Oaklawn Handicap, Silver State defeated Knicks Go in the Grade 1 Metropolitan Handicap. On the board in 12 of 14 starts from ages 2 to 4, his career included a 6-race winning streak. Grade 1 winner Silver State, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Picture perfect afternoon here at the Big A. Welcome back. You're watching America's Day at the Races. Live coverage continuing from Aqueduct, where we just saw Eloquent Speaker come back in 6 days rest. First half of the claim, Talia Lynch, and winning the Friday feature, a 4th lifetime win, 3 of them here at Aqueduct. You mentioned the great trip. Eric Cancel hit the accelerator. Eloquent Speaker responds.
Always nice when you put a horse in the right position and when you ask him for their response. They give you a good response. How many times you've been in a good position, you ask the horse, and they're just not underneath you? Well, Eloquent Speaker was always up underneath Eric Cancel, who delivered a flawless ride, had plenty left to hold off. The 7, Firing Carol.
Good run.
Nice run from her, and a little bit more like the races she ran in the spring of the year.
Had been struggling of late, but you saw her plugging away. Second place finish on this afternoon. Eloquent Speaker. Here's what we've seen thus far. Just over $250,000 in the pool for the late pick 5 follow along. It was tough. It started out with Tweaked at $21. Rather formful since. One left at Aqueduct. Back to Oaklawn we go. Hot Springs, Arkansas, gearing up for the 6 of 9 races on this Friday program. Field with updated odds. 2-year-olds. $80,000 allowance optional, claiming sprint $100,000 purse. And a 2 to 5 favorite to deal with here. Richie at Oaklawn, 2 now, 1 to Chasing Time. Ricardo Santana riding for Steve Asmussen. Some highs and lows in 2021, to put it mildly.
Yeah, I mean, you know, think about the Saratoga they put together, all the Grade 1 victories together. And then things went a little bit sour through the fall of the year. Ricardo was replaced on Echo Zulu, who won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, with Joel Rosario in the tack. And now it feels like Ricardo is, it's good to see him riding for Steve. Of course you want to ride for Steve Asmussen, North America's all-time winning trainer, but he feels like he's been relegated to almost like a pinch hitting kind of situation.
I would, and we can continue the conversation, but I would think, you know, there's a lot of pressure now on Santana, especially on a horse here who's getting bet like he can't lose, Chasing Time. We'll see him in the post parade 2 to 5. That's a Bitcoin banker to kick off the post parade. And then Sonny is not so funny. A second half of the uncoupled entry for Jerry Caroom and Cardaville.
Yeah, a horse that was claimed for 50, went right into a stake opening day of Oaklawn, did not run well.
Citrus Bay, Oaklawn debut after a summer spent at Canterbury.
Would be a big surprise. Was good going 4.5. Didn't really like 6 last time.
In Dreams, California bred Florent Giroux, Brad Cox, Rupp Racing.
Man, if he runs his last race back, he's going to be very tough to beat. Ran the biggest Spire speed figure by far of anybody in here.
Cox, Florent Giroux looking to go back-to-back in the Oaklawn program. American Chaos, his best races to date on synthetic tracks.
Yeah, tried dirt at Churchill Downs in October. Was not very good.
Magnolia Midnight, David Cabrera in the West Point, black and gold.
I thought he was a little bit interesting. They got ambitious. They tried the Iroquois. They backed him up. Horse that definitely appreciates sprinting.
Here's the heavy favorite, by not this time, Chasing Time, and Ricardo Santana in the My Racehorse Stable black colors.
He's been consistent. He's run very good races every time. He's definitely a contender. I think that's way too short a price.
On the outside, not too short a price at 32 to 1. Aquitania Arrival, well-traveled. 6 starts in 4 states after this one.
Yeah, Renee Amesqua was assistant trainer to David Hoffman's for a number of years out in California. I actually won a race for him. He shipped the filly down from Golden Gate, Legs That Don't Quit, at Hollywood Park.
2-year-olds in this 6 at Oaklawn. Post time 5 minutes. Hall of Famer Gary Stevens on site at Oaklawn. Gary, I guess it's a given at this point. Giroux, Brad Cox, like when they work together, they win together.
Yeah, I mean, he's won 5 races at the meet now. So has Brad Cox, 9 races for Florent Giroux. But Flo's been on all 5 of those winners for Brad. They're a match made in heaven. They've ridden, he's ridden for him for the last 4 or 5 years, and they've had continued success at the highest level. They continue that success. Brad's had he's had quite a few seconds here at this young meet. Those are going to turn into wins, and they're just a solid group. And you know, I want to touch a little bit on Ricardo and Steve Asmussen. You know, I really don't feel that Ricardo was feeling any added pressure with the changes that are going on right now. Sometimes a little break is good for a rider. I remember when I was riding everything for the legendary Bobby Frankel, and the pressure would mount and mount and mount, and you could sort of feel things growing, and that was pressure to where, like, if a horse got beat, you know, a lot of the time it was my fault, and I would start making mistakes and overthinking races and whatnot, and I'd get fired for a while, and I'd come back and we'd be solid again. So I think this might be a good change for both of them for the time being. But look, I don't think that anything's permanent here, that he's not going to continue to ride a fair number of horses for Steve Asmussen with the success they've had in the past. So listen, looking at these horses in the paddock, all of them looked great. The 2 and the 3 were getting pretty warm out there on the racetrack. Also, your favorite right now, Chasing Time, he was getting a little bit warm just when he came on the racetrack. He was really on his toes, and Ricardo giving just a nice easy warm-up right now, but was very behaved in the paddock itself and looks good out on the racetrack right now, guys.
You know, just to expound on what Gary was saying, when you're riding first call for one of the leading trainers or, you know, some high-profile trainer, and you're not winning or things aren't going right, you do have more pressure. The greatest gift ever given to me by a trainer was Pete Ferriola, was leading trainer here in New York. I was riding first call for him. Young guy, maybe 18, 19 years old. And I got beat on a couple horses that shouldn't have got beat. And you know that other jockeys and their agents are in there trying to get on those horses. So now you start pressing. Now I got to make it work. I got to win because I don't want to lose the job. And you basically, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're going to make more mistakes because you're trying too hard. So one day after I got beat on a horse I should have won on because I was pressing, Pete said, I need to see you at the barn in the morning. So I know I'm getting fired. I went home that night. I'm sick. I'm going to lose this job.
Bring your playbook.
Yep. And I went in the next day, and he walked down the shed row. He had 50 horses here at Aqueduct, and he said, look at every one of these horses with their heads hanging over the stall webbings. You own 10% of every horse in this barn. He says, that's what you get when you win, 10%, right? He said, I ride you because you're a good rider. Relax. Just don't worry about it. Do your job. You're my guy. I rode great for him for the next 3 years because he made me a part of the team. He made me feel comfortable in my position.
That different perspective of confidence, and great to have this insight from a Hall of Famer, Gary Stevens, Aqueduct's all-time leading jockey, Richie Migliori, and Steve Asmussen. Going back to Ricardo Santana on this afternoon, let's revisit Chasing Time's maiden win. 3 weeks ago, Churchill Downs, Stars of Tomorrow, Chasing Time without room to operate, so he and Rafael Bejarano create room to operate.
That was the proverbial, excuse me, and he just kind of shouldered a horse out of the way, and that was impressive. For a young horse to be this game, to take that kind of body contact and then go on about his business, boy, that says a lot about this horse's character. A lot of horses have ability. Do they have the heart to back that ability up? Then no worries about Chasing Time's heart.
Jonathan, there's the number crunching for the handicappers. I get it. But for you evaluating this race, what does that tell you when you see a 2-year-old, light in experience, that was just his 3rd career start, and willing to do that already?
Yeah, look, when it comes to chasing, sorry, Lafitte, I didn't hear you. You talking about Chasing Time?
Chasing Time, just bullying his way the way he did.
Yes. So the thing about Chasing Time that's interesting is that he is progressing, and you like to see that with a young horse, a horse that will continue to kind of improve. And now, look, don't get me wrong, it's nice and brilliant when they win very impressively first time out. But when they do win like that, sometimes they can kind of plateau and not continue to improve. Chasing Time doesn't seem to be that type of horse. But I will say this, though. Chasing Time is not that much faster than the 4 In Dreams, and the 7 Chasing Time. I think it's interesting to note that this horse is owned by My Racehorse. It's a micro share syndicate where you can get in very low prices to own a piece of a horse. And I think what happens in those situations, we used to see it a little bit as well with like West Point, these big syndicates. When people own a horse and their horse is running, they tell all their friends bet $2, they bet $5, they bet $100. I think sometimes the win pool can be a little bit inflated. That's why I'm going to try to beat Chasing Time because of the price with the 4 In Dreams. This horse ran extremely well last time. Very similar to what you see with Chasing Time. You know, he didn't run very fast first out. Then he ran a little bit better, then a little bit better, and he ran extremely well last time, and I think he'll run better even here today. And he's also getting Lasix for the first time. A lot of these 2-year-olds were not running in Lasix, but now they do have Lasix. Google it, right? A diuretic that can help these horses. And so, look, I think In Dreams is the one that I want in this spot, based strictly on the price.
9-5, JK, In Dreams. And for Brad Cox, Florent Giroux just won with a 2-year-old filly about 25 minutes ago and trying to go back-to-back here, In Dreams. And you saw that maiden score and how easy he made it look. He didn't have to overcome the trouble that Chasing Time did, but just the same, an impressive performance.
Impressive and a fast figure, and you know he's a horse like Jonathan said, and I love that. I love progression in young horses. I don't like when you see the best of a horse the first time. You want to build into a career, not build to a race. And you know, Brad Cox, Florent Drew, we saw the result the last race with a filly that came out of Indiana Grand. And usually that's, kind of his second string horses down there. She certainly put herself squarely in the page for being brought up to the main club, if you will.
This is getting bet like a 2-horse race. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, it kind of feels that way to me. As I go through these horses, I really don't see anybody. Maybe the 6, I think, can get a little bit involved. I thought this horse was interesting. I don't know what he was beating at Colonial, but I thought the way he ran at Colonial in the summer in an off-the-turfer was good. And Dallas Stewart thought enough of him. Let's take a shot. Let's stretch him out. The Iroquois, they got him back doing what he wanted to do last time, sprinting. And sometimes after one race going long, you need that one sprint to kind of find your natural sprint speed again.
Brad Cox with In Dreams. He and Giroux looking to go back-to-back. 9-5 In Dreams, but the favorite at post time, odds on now, Chasing Time, number 7 for Steve Asmussen, Ricardo Santana in the saddle, 3-5 at post time. These 2-year-olds, at least for the next couple of weeks, about to sprint 3/4 of a mile. $80,000 allowance, optional claimer with this big $100,000 purse and this extended meet at Oaklawn. 66 days of racing right through the Kentucky Derby, and having started here in December, weather cooperating thus far, did rain earlier today, sun's out, but still a muddy track to contend with. And these 2-year-olds start the load, and stepping forward, you see Bitcoin Banker, American Chaos. Is it a 2-colt race? We're about to find out. In Dreams, number 4 for Brad Cox, Chasing Time for North America's all-time leading trainer Steve Asmussen, with Ricardo Santana Chasing Time, the odds-on favorite at post time. Vic Stauffer standing by at Oaklawn.
The last 2 to load are In Dreams and Aquitania Arrival. They're at the post. They're off. Very awkward start. Magnolia Midnight. In Dreams and Citrus Bay with Chasing Time, and a 3-wide make it 4-wide Aquitania Arrival. Sunny Is Not So Funny at the rail on the move. Then comes American Chaos and Bitcoin Banker, and desperately last, Magnolia Midnight. Up the backstretch, they fly In Dreams and Sunny Is Not So Funny in Dreams, half ahead in front. Sunny Is Not So Funny is second by a length and 3/4 to Chasing Time. At the rail, Bitcoin Banker and Citrus Bay between horses. Aquitania Arrival is in the pink, 6th and only 3 from the front. American Chaos on the move outside of him, and Magnolia Midnight still trails many chances. Top of the stretch, In Dreams has taken over a clear lead. In Dreams now a length in front of Sunny Is Not So Funny in second. Then comes Chasing Time to the outside. He's about to move into second, 2.5 back to Magnolia Midnight, running a very big race after that bad start, but In Dreams is clear now, a 16th out, and now 5 lengths in front of Chasing Time. Magnolia Midnight tries to get into second, but In Dreams is going to make it 2 in a row for Cox and Giroux. In Dreams won by 6.5. Chasing Time was second, Magnolia Midnight third. Sunny Is Not So Funny finished 4th.
A devastating performance. In Dreams, and once again it is Florent Giroux and Brad Cox, back-to-back wins with 2-year-olds. In Dreams making it look easy at Oaklawn.
Man, he just powered away. When Florent Drew asked him for more, he just kept finding more. He was attending the pace. The 2 Sunny Is Not So Funny, kind of rushed up the rail, and Florent said, okay, I'll take back just off of you, sit the trip. No excuses for your favorite Chasing Time, who's chasing In Dreams throughout, who was very impressive here.
For Brad Cox, Florent Giroux, it was Mariah's Fortune, the filly, dominant in race number 5, and here, geared down late. Here's pricked In Dreams. Remember his name moving forward for Rupp Racing, Florent Giroux, Brad Cox. In Dreams, second lifetime win, running up to score in the 6th race at Oaklawn Park. When we come back, if these walls could talk, I like that. The house that Mig built, that's what they'd say. The history of Aqueduct when America's Day at the Races continues.
It's a Motown, the son of Uncle Mo, to win the Remsen.
Motown flying. Motown will win a Thriller. Motown to win it. And Motown has won the Hollywood Derby.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit nairabets.com.
Introducing Adelphi Racing Club, the horse racing syndicate offering more than just fractional ownership. Enjoy the thrill of an interactive thoroughbred ownership experience competing at the sport's highest level. Attend events where you'll interact with top trainers, industry professionals, and club members. We've cheered on winners from coast to coast at top tracks such as Santa Anita and Saratoga.
And it will be Exotic West.
Become part of a group that celebrates success together. Visit AdelphiRacing.com and join the club today.
Blood Horse Plus, available through bloodhorse.com, provides exclusive, timely, and unmatched content to subscribers, including Fox Sports, Blood Horse branded weekly programs, a detailed stakes winners section, behind-the-scenes videos from Blood Horse staff, on-demand access to deeper horse statistics, and a $5 monthly credit to equineline.com. Upgrade to Blood Horse Plus today.
Winding things down at Aqueduct. Welcome back. You're watching America's Day at the Races, as always brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. These riders could at least try to avoid the logo, Richie. Show some respect. Ninth and final post parade. We start with the long shot Curlin's Knight. $16,000 claimers, non-winners to lifetime, one-turn mile.
1 for 44 lifetime with 13 seconds. This rider, Jose Baez, brought in a long shot earlier in the day to be second. Maybe you want to use this horse at a big price underneath.
Big price. Another one. Long shot side by side. Mucho Sunshine.
It gets a 7-pound break in the weights with Omar Hernandez Moreno aboard.
Scotty, 1 for 16 lifetime.
Yeah, and boy, his race, he's dropping in class, but man, he doesn't get involved early at all.
Now, Super Wicked Charm at 13-1, and then a contender in Fearless Fly.
Yeah, certainly a contender. John Service with Jose Lascano, and a horse that's coming out of sprints should be up close, and I think that's an advantage in these kind of races.
Speed Effect, Eric Cancel. You'll see the favorite eventually, we promise. There's number 8, Ouch, Ouch, Ouch. Don't love the name, 14-1.
Yeah, and, you know, a horse that attended the pace last time and stopped.
Breaking Stones here at 7-2. Manny Franco seeking another win.
You know, a horse that is definitely going to be close. His win back in May at Belmont would be good enough to be tough here.
Feeling it in the post parade. Then you saw Mr. Fidget. There's the favorite of the lukewarm variety. Actuary, Kendrick Carmouche aboard.
Yeah, Rob Atras, Kendrick Carmouche, they're a formidable combination as well. Horse making a nice impression in the warm-up.
Wide open 9th race. Maggie, and your thoughts on the very tepid choice with 3 minutes to go, Actuary?
Lafitte, I think he is the horse to beat. Not only does he look best, which is typical of Rob Atras' horses, he had by far the toughest trip of any of these coming out of their last race. He kind of broke a little funny behind, and it put him, well, behind the field, which was dominated towards the front end with Profusion and Breaking Stones, who we also see in here just running 1-2 around the racetrack. And then it seemed as though, since it was his first time on the dirt, he was reacting a bit to the kickback at first. Then Kendrick found a nice little spot where he wasn't getting kickback, and then he just went on this relentless run throughout. I mean, yes, he was beaten the 3 1/4 lengths, but it was a troubled trip. And I do feel as though, you know, it's stronger connections, so of course they're going to attract more money than what he may deserve, and he may ultimately be a better turf horse, but I just couldn't get past the way he looked and the fact that he ran very well despite in defeat last time out. Number 6 is Speed Effect. You know, I didn't love this horse watching his last race in that it took him a while to switch leads and he kind of shortened stride. He does look good, though, in the flesh, and he is dropping in class. Yakare came back and ran a very game second for 35,000 yesterday. So he's definitely the one that gets some class relief, dropping back down in this level, but before that, he was a beaten favorite. We'll see what he does here. He is going to have to deal with some other speed in Breaking Stones, as well as the next horse we'll talk about, as you guys mentioned, Fearless Fly, should be forward here, stretching from the 6 to a mile, but talk about not looking great in the last 1/8 of a mile. This guy just reluctant to switch to his outside lead in his last 2 efforts, one of which did come at Delaware, and I think a comparable field to what he's facing here. And he's consistently losing ground. So what about him, watching his replays and looking at him, because he is a bit smaller, says that he wants to go longer. He also got very washy in the Paddock. He, as a short price, was one I'd be willing to leave out, Lafitte.
Yeah, not exactly a ringing endorsement here for Fearless Fly, Maggie. Maggie going with Actuary, who is 7-2 co-favored, now emerging as the choice Breaking Stones towards the outside. Richie, you're going with Speed Effect and Eric Cancel.
Yeah, the horse kind of won me over watching him gallop over to the backstretch, and I thought that he can be forwardly placed, maybe attending the 5 Fearless Fly, kind of using him as that pacemaker that I like to talk about.
JK had some good things to say about In Dreams at Oaklawn. He ran off the TV screen, most impressive. Again, remember his name. And JK going with Breaking Stones, the tepid choice at 3-1. Keeps going back and forth now. Actuary. Kendrick Carmouche in the saddle. Super Wicked Charm steps forward. All set for the 9th and final. Post time for the nightcap on a Friday at Aqueduct. Chris Griffin standing by.
Mr. Fidget to the outside. Also Fearless Fly moving forward. Fearless Fly, Mr. Fidget. All in line. All set. And they're off. Step slow for Super Wicked Charm at the back of the field. Speed Effect has got early speed. It's Speed Effect right out to the front. Breaking Stones towards the far outside is also making up some ground with Fearless Fly. They're 2nd and 3rd. Then comes Actuary in 4th, who's outside of Mucho Sunshine. That's the top 5 as they come out of the chute. Towards the back of the field comes Ouch, 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 who's actually going to be mid-pack with Curlin's Knight. Super Wicked Charm broke slowly, but is progressing through the field. Scotty is 2nd to last in the trailer. Patiently ridden, Mr. Fidget can see them all. Speed Effect up the backstretch, unopposed now. To the inside is Fearless Fly, and here to the outside is Breaking Stones. They're still 2nd and 3rd. No room yet for Mucho Sunshine. Tight hold there is looking for a way out. Actuary has taken that spot, is in the 4th spot. Super Wicked Charm. Here's a rally from the back as Scotty tries to make a big move here. Purple Silk's on the far outside, losing some ground worse. Curlin's Knight. Also towards the back there comes Ouch, 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 and Mr. Fidget is still the trailer. Into the far turn, 48.37. That half-mile time for Speed Effect. Eric Cancel and Speed Effect, they're still up by a full length. Under a drive now is Breaking Stones. That rally from Scotty continues, and the Purple Silks is 4 wide, but is coming after this leader now. Actuary needs some room, as here is Scotty, and Scotty has put a nose in front. Speed Effect comes right back, though, at the top of the stretch. Speed Effect is now a neck in front. Continue to make that ground. Here is Scotty, and Scotty is straightened up, and Scotty's got the lead. Speed Effect is coming back towards the inside. Actuary from the back. Mr. Fidget is trying to rally to the outside of Breaking Stones. It is Scotty who's your leader. Scotty inside the final 16th. Speed Effect will hang on to 2nd, but it's all Scotty to get the score. Scotty gets the win. Speed Effect, then Breaking Stones look like Mr. Fidget to the outside of Actuary in a photo in 1 minute 40.12 seconds.
Scotty. 2nd lifetime win and his 17th career start. Jackie Davis at 11-1 in the nightcap at Aqueduct.
Well, another Davis finds the winner's circle of that riding Davis clan. Jackie Davis delivered a perfect ride on Scotty. Had this horse a little bit closer than he's been recently, in a position to pounce. When he got to a Speed Effect turning for home, you knew, kind of looked behind, and you really see anybody else running. Scotty gets it done. Nice to see Jackie Davis get a win here at Aqueduct. Good pedigree to be a rider. Robbie Davis, dad was a terrific rider. Dylan, good rider. Katie Davis, a good rider.
Absolutely.
Jackie gets it done here. Eddie Davis training.
Strong, strong family. Bloodlines, horsemen, riders. Scotty here. Eduardo Jones, owner, trainer, opened up at, 30-1 on the morning line, 11-1 at post time. puts away Speed Effect, 369, photo for fourth. His sire was an awesome long-distance turf star, Flintshire, runner-up in the Breeders' Cup Turf, two-time Sword Dancer winner at Saratoga. Scotty gets his win on the main track here, and a second lifetime victory. Again, this was for non-winners, 2 lifetime. 11-1, 369, 11 in the nightcap.
Nice bounce in his step coming back, too. He's proud of himself.
Results will wrap things up from Aqueduct. Also at Oaklawn, how about John Court? 61 years old, still going strong, oldest jockey ever to ride in a Kentucky Derby. Won a stakes race last week at Oaklawn. The point set it with Last Samurai. Much more on Court as America's Day at the Races continues.
Introducing a Stallion, as top class as they come. In 22 career starts, he won or placed in 12 graded stakes, competing in 15 grade ones, earning over $1.7 million. His undisputed speed is evidenced by 7 100-plus Spire speed figures, a 3-time grade 1 winner, Raging Bull.
Nine up and 9 down at Aqueduct. Welcome back to America's Day at the Races. As always, brought to you in part by Run Happy. Brilliant champion sprinter. Race medication free. Stands in stall 1 at legendary Claiborne Farm. I don't know that Scotty is like Run Happy, talented, or fast, Mig. Who cares? 11-1 win. His second lifetime for Eduardo Jones. Jackie Davis pulling off the upset in the nightcap.
Yeah, and honestly, you're always happy in the winner's circle, and you're always warm in the winner's circle. And Scotty got a good trip under Jackie Davis, and Jackie kind of spending this year up at Finger Lakes, getting more opportunities down here for the winter. Nice to see her get a win. You know, it's so funny when you watch these kids grow up. And literally watched, Robbie and Marguerite Davis's kids grow up. So always happy when I see them win.
Robbie, just the pride in watching your kids go out there and like winning a race. It's got to be amazing.
Oh, absolutely. And, they've always shown a keen interest in this. Obviously, Jackie went to the jockey school, Chris McCarran Jockey School in Kentucky. And this is horse racing. Give her opportunity, she can get it done.
At $24.80, she can get it done with the payout of over $11,000. Tweaked in the 5th was tough, and then trying to find Scotty, $24.80, $11,000 plus with the late pick 5 here at Aqueduct.
Yes, a bookend there with 2 big prices, and the result is $11,000, better than $11,000 payoff on a 50-cent bet.
Do it again tomorrow. Live coverage right here on Fox Sports 2, New York Stallion Series at Aqueduct. But we have lots to get to. We have 3 more races at Oaklawn. Race number 7, this $30,000 claiming event, mile and a 16th, 3-year-olds and older take out numbers 4 and 6. Urban Frontier, who is the 7-5 favorite. Ricardo Santana riding the favorite here. 7-5. Bourbon Frontier 6-1 in the morning line. Why such a heavy favorite as we await the post parade?
That's a great question. Horse ran well at Delaware Park last time. Is that going to translate? And again, one of the handicapping conundrums of Oaklawn, horses coming from so many different jurisdictions.
Melting pot.
Yep.
And especially now with these purses. Again, it is the most lucrative winter racing in North America, and you're offering that kind of money. We saw that $100,000 purse in the race for 2-year-olds about half an hour ago. You're going to get the big fields and more of those horses coming from different parts of the country and trying to compare on paper, because they're not facing one another, trying to gauge different races from different circuits. And it makes it's another interesting handicapping element.
Well, the one good thing is that this year, even longer meet.
66 days.
More time to kind of figure it out and decipher. I mean, last year I remember seeing horses coming out of Remington Park doing quite well at Oaklawn.
Tomorrow, the Tinsel Stakes, a chance to see Lone Rock. Robertino Diodoro with a strong 1-2 punch in tomorrow's Tinsel. Lone Rock cutting back in distance, 1 1/8. It is the inaugural Tinsel with a $200,000 purse. We'll have it for you right here on Fox Sports 2 and America's Day at the Races, Aqueduct, and Oaklawn tomorrow afternoon. But again, lots to get to this Friday evening at Oaklawn. Post-parade, we start with Cazzarelli, drawn inside Ramon Vasquez.
Yeah, showed really good speed last time. Almost runoff speed. Opened up, was claimed. Makes it come back here. Gets a good inside post.
Alex June, Alex Conchari, Alex June at 7-1.
Yeah, more of a closing type. He's happy that the likes of Cazzarelli's in here.
Again, the track is muddy. Englander, a winner in the slop in his most recent at Churchill.
Another horse that should be a part of the pace. Does his best work when he's allowed to run freely.
Bourbon Frontier, Ricardo Santana, Jerry Hollendorfer. It all adds up to 3-2.
Should work out a good trip. Horse that's very tactical. Should be in a stalking spot.
Sun Daddy is out, considered a contender going in. Number 7 here, Centrifuge, 5-1. Let's go Arietta in the saddle.
It's kind of an odd run last time. Looked like he was all done, was starting to back up, and then kind of found again and re-rallied.
There goes that team. M&M Racing, Robertino Diodoro first after the claim. David Cohen, stock deal.
Horse was claimed for 20, is up on a raise, even though he's been through the period of time where he could go run back for the 20. So that's a vote of confidence.
Ageless one, John Court, smiling John Court aboard Lake Nakuru.
He is the ageless John Court. It looks the same, rides better maybe now than he ever did.
You and I know something about this, right? Catholic guilt. David Cabrera. Did he win on Easter or something last year? Something crazy?
I think you're right. I remember him winning, and we had some
Like,
laugh
really?
about it. Or Catholic.
Good Friday.
All right, so Good Friday. So Catholic guilt. I went to St. Edmunds, not far from here.
I went to St. Francis.
So we know about that Catholic guilt.
All about it. And we know all about John Court, who's still going strong at the age of 61. We check in with Hall of Famer Gary Stevens at Oaklawn.
Yeah, guys, he sure is. He won the inaugural Poinsettia Stakes last weekend for Dallas Stewart and owner Willis Horton, and he put on a show. I'll tell you what, Richie and we talked about it last week. He can process things so quickly. When you've ridden this long, you've had about anything that can happen to you in a race. And when I say processes things probably quicker than anybody out there on the racetrack riding in this race, what I'm talking about, you're steadily taking notes, and it's subconscious notes that you're taking. You're assessing things. You're seeing how a race sets up. He's a very, very good gate rider. He likes to put his horses into the race, but he can adapt to any kind of situation. And we saw that the other day with Last Samurai and what he did. And he can finish with the best of them still. He stays very, very fit. He's out every morning working horses, and just a pleasure to watch. And it's for you guys at home, just keep an eye on the 9 horse and where he has this horse early on. He's in with a chance here, in my belief. I think that a lot of these horses, 3 or 4 of these horses, are going to have new owners after this race. There's been a lot of claims so far in this early meet. This is our third week of racing right now, and they've been very, very active in these claiming races because of the prize money that they're offering. And a lot of these guys have already had horses claimed, and they've got to fill their stalls back up. So it's an interesting, it's a game within the game, this claiming game. So listen, Lake Nakuru, I like him at 9-2 right now. And I can kind of understand why the 5-horse Bourbon Frontier is the price he is. He looked great in the paddock. He's always a good workhorse at any track that he's been to, I noticed. And he's had 2 very good workouts here at Oaklawn Park since he's been here. Saw Dan Ward, the assistant for Jerry Hollendorfer, this morning, and they like this horse a lot. And I know they probably realize that they won't be leading him back to their barn, so it's very important that they get the win here. But you know, I think that the tote board has it about right now at 8-5 on Bourbon Frontier. Guys?
Gary, thanks so much. Yeah, handicappers zeroing in on Bourbon Frontier, 7-5, 2 minutes out. But you're looking at Lake Nakuru, jockey John Court. And last weekend, with the stakes victory, Last Samurai in the poinsettia, Richie.
Yeah, when John Court was taking peeks under his right shoulder, his right arm and right shoulder, you knew he had a lot of horse. Older riders do not take that long, languishing look back unless they know they got a lot of stock underneath them. He knew he had the horses in front of him, and here he came down the center of the track. And I think what Gary said is a great point. You just see things in slow motion. You've seen it so many times that the race is so slowed down for you. He still finishes well. I haven't seen any erosion of his skills that you normally see with any athlete as they start to age. I think he's riding as well now, if not better than ever.
I guess that's the question. We marvel at what athletes do when they're still performing at a high level as they get older, like a Drew Brees now retired, or what Tom Brady is still doing in the NFL in his early 40s as a quarterback. But John Court's now 61 years old, and as you mentioned, still going very strong, riding live mounts, winning stakes races at Oaklawn Park here, JK, and Court riding Lake Nakuru. Does the ageless one get another win here at Oaklawn, or are you going in a different direction?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think the 5 Bourbon Frontier deserves to be the favorite here, and the horse feels like the most likely winner. Doesn't have a ton of early speed. Even the times this horse has made, got kind of involved, the pace was slow, so I don't expect to see Bourbon Frontier on the front. I did kind of agree. I know we've been talking about John Cora, but I think the 9, Lake Nakuru, does make a little bit of sense in here. This horse has some speed figures that fit. He's been running at Churchill, going that 1-turn mile, which I think is a more demanding situation. And look, I just think this horse is going to probably run well in here. It's 5-1 on the board. I'd like to see if John Court can't use some of that timing he's acquired in his the few years that he's been riding.
Lots of experience, John Court, while we're looking at Ricardo Santana, Richie, and Bourbon Frontier. Go back to his most recent victory. This was mid-October at Delaware. And again, trying to evaluate the Delaware form, how it'll transfer. Handicappers feel that it'll transfer beautifully. Bourbon Frontier in company inside this victory at Delaware.
Yeah, and you could just see how sweetly he's traveling in behind the leader, waiting, biding his time, waiting for room. Got the room, came out, and finished resolutely. And I kind of foresee him getting a very similar trip today. There's enough speed to set up, but he's quick enough that he should put himself right in behind the pace. And you can see, obviously, he is not shy or reluctant about running in behind horses, so he should work out a very good trip.
Co-owned by George Todaro, Jerry Hollendorfer. Hollendorfer trains, of course, Bourbon Frontier here at 3-2. If he's vulnerable, if he doesn't bring his best, if that form doesn't transfer, if he doesn't handle a muddy track that he's never raced over, which direction would you lean?
You know, I keep on gravitating back to the 8-horse stock deal for Robertina Diodoro, M&M Racing, David Cohen. They ran a horse earlier in the day, very short price on drop down, ran terrible. This is a horse that was claimed back in October 28th. Now, there's a 30-day period where a horse has to run for more money than they were claimed for.
Claiming jail.
They're in jail. The fact that this horse is out of jail and they still raise him up in class, the horse returns as a first-time gelding, Sometimes trainers claim a horse with something specific in mind that they think they can do to improve a horse. The fact that this horse comes back, runs for more money on the race, first time gelding, to me that speaks of confidence that maybe they claim this horse and they like the way he responded to the gelding. You know, because they're aggressive. Like Jonathan said, M&M Racing, they know how to win. They want to win. So the fact that this horse hikes up in class off that claim, I think is a vote of confidence.
Owning titles at Oaklawn over the years, Mike Sisk, M&M Racing, Robertino Diodoro won the first race of the summer at Saratoga, and Diodoro represented by 2 win machines in tomorrow's first running of the Tinsel. Lone Rock, who $40,000 claim, and since that claim, he's banked more than $720,000, coming off a win at Del Mar on the undercard of the Breeders' Cup. And Thomas Shelby, Maggie's favorite horse in training, not trained by her husband, Peaky Blinders fans. All he does is win. So in tomorrow's Tinsel, Diodoro making his presence felt in a big, big way.
Lone Rock, I mean, it's just so funny, too. He's turning back in distance to the mile and an eighth. Jay Provenzano, his owner, you could see how much he loves that horse and the thrills that he's gotten out of that horse. I mean, I interviewed him after one of his wins at Belmont, and he actually gets emotional talking about the horse. So it's amazing with these horses, the emotion they can tap into with people.
$40,000 claim just over a year ago. Talking about Lone Rock. $720,000, I believe. And when Diodoro was asked about the cutback in distance, it is a cutback. You don't normally hear that, cutting back to a mile and an eighth, but considering the marathon distance he's been running at and winning at, he's not concerned, and said that, make no mistake, and I'm paraphrasing, but that this could very well be a springboard towards a Grade 1 appearance in early 2022 for Lone Rock.
Well, and let's throw on top of that, this is a horse that's shown an affinity, a fondness for Oaklawn Park.
Handed the favorite his lunch in that race, that Grade 2 at Del Mar, whose name eludes me. You'll have a chance to see him tomorrow in that Tinsel, the feature at Oaklawn, but we have lots of live racing this evening on a Friday. 7th race locked and loaded. Vic Stauffer standing by with the live call, 7th from Oaklawn.
They're at the post. They're off. Catsarelli and Englander shows speed. Centrifuge is taken back. Catholic Gilt's on the move. Bourbon Frontier away in 4th. Alex June is next. Then at the back of the pack are Stock Deal and Lake Nakaroo. It's Englander quickest to the backstretch from Catholic Gilt in 2nd. Englander a length and a half in front. Catholic Gilt is 2nd by a half length to Catsarelli, 3rd at the rail. Bourbon Frontier secures a good striking position, 4th with 2.5 lengths to make up, and a length and a half in front of Stock Deal and Alex June. Centrifuge is 2nd to last with 6 lengths to make up, and he's a length in front of Lake Nakaroo as they head up the backstretch with Englander, the one to catch. It is Englander, a 2-length advantage over Catholic Gilt in 2nd. Then comes Catsarelli, 3rd at the rail, and now 3.5 from the front. Bourbon Frontier has 4 lengths to make up. Alex June and Stock Deal are 5 from the lead, and at the back of the pack are Lake Nakaroo and Centrifuge as they leave the backstretch, and Englander is still there. It is Englander, now only a half length in front of Catholic Gilt in 2nd. Bourbon Frontier begins to come after that top 2. Alex June is all in for Conchari, but he's moving up. Then comes Stock Deal, Centrifuge, and Catsarelli. Englander has a short lead now. Bourbon Frontier 3 deep, and between horses Catholic Gilt. These 3 across the track. Alex June is a length from the front. Catholic Gilt and Bourbon Frontier. These 2 now emerge. Bourbon Frontier outside, Catholic Gilt inside. They are heads apart. Alex June only a length from the front. Bourbon Frontier now just in front of Catholic Gilt. To the outside in Alex June. Bourbon Frontier now a length in front. Alex June a final try. Bourbon Frontier in front. Bourbon Frontier beat Alex June. Catholic Gilt was 3rd, and finishing 4th was Englander.
Guess that Delaware form does transfer. Bourbon Frontier for Jerry Hollendorfer, Hall of Famer, trainer, co-owner with George Todaro. Ricardo Santana, Bourbon Frontier able to hold off a late charging Alex June.
Yeah, it's had a really nice trip under Ricardo Santana, and very strong finisher, Ricardo. And gets it done over the 2-horse who came with a resolute run. Just didn't never look like he was going to go by, though. Alex June under Alex Conchari.
Bourbon Frontier, first start on a wet track, handles the mud just fine. And 2 straight wins. The spinning his wheels a little bit at Monmouth, the win at Delaware, a victory here, Bourbon Frontier, and Hollendorfer has him in somewhat of a groove.
Yeah, and you know, Gary talked about it, that they liked the horse. The horse made a nice physical impression and was always in the right position. And he projected to get this kind of trip, a horse that's quick enough to get that stalking spot and grind it down. Two horse ran really well at a big price too. Alex June ran up your exacta.
A late run for Alex June, but in the end, too much Bourbon Frontier. Was he claimed? Find out when we come back as our coverage continues from Oaklawn. Bourbon Frontier, the favorite here, Ricardo Santana in the 7th at Oaklawn Park. 2 left. Results here and a look ahead to tomorrow's New York Stallion Series at Aqueduct.
Run Happy is the #1 second prop sire by stakes winners, graded stakes winners, and earnings. Run Happy is represented by Smile Happy, the Kentucky Derby individual future Pool 1 favorite. A leading dirt sire and now with an exciting Kentucky Derby hopeful. Call Bernie Sams now and book your mare to Eclipse champion Run Happy right now. Run Happy standing in stall 1 at Claiborne Farm.
Need help in finalizing your picks for the next race? Check out the Track Master selections provided by Equibase on every U.S. thoroughbred and harness track on Naira Bets. Use these selections to get quick expert advice from professionals in the business. Check out the thumbs up graphic next to the pick and a wager pad and scroll down for more details on the horse. Track Master selections available on Naira Bets and the Naira Bets app.
A Grade 1 winner on both dirt and turf, War of Will became a classic winner with this victory in the Preakness Stakes. And added a Grade 1 with turf credentials in the Maker's Mark Mile. A winner in Grade 1 placed at 2. Multiple graded stakes victor at 3 and Grade 1 winner again at 4. This son of Warfront has proven his class at every level. At Keeneland November, his first mares and foals sold up to $310,000. War of Will, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. Use promo code TRYRTN for a 5-day free trial.
Racing in December at Oaklawn, 66 days this season. Live coverage continuing on America's Day at the Races. 2 left at Oaklawn. Great to have you with us. Bourbon Frontier, if you liked him, if you trusted the chalk, claimed. Where is he headed? Here the victory for Jerry Hollendorfer, Ricardo Santana, and Bourbon Frontier. And as you mentioned, that solid effort from the runner-up, Alex June.
Yeah, and you could see Alex Conchari on Alex June coming down the center of the track. The horse in the lead, Catholic Guilt, went out to your winner, Bourbon Frontier. It was shoulder to shoulder. Sometimes, you know, riders trying to get their horse to engage, get their horse to fight with the leader. Sometimes we see that herding go a bit too far. That was right on the borderline, but Bourbon Frontier under strong handling. Ricardo Santana gets it done, and we'll have dinner in somebody else's barn tonight.
That's right. Claimed. We'll see if we can get you that information where Bourbon Frontier is headed. 4 lifetime wins at 4 different tracks. Keeneland, Churchill Downs, Delaware, as you saw, and now at Oaklawn, where we turn the page. Race number 8, $62,500 allowance optional claimer. 3-year-olds and older, mile and a 16th. Coach, 8-5 for trainer Brad Cox. Brad Cox seeking a 3rd win on the afternoon. That is the feature coming up at Oaklawn. You think of some of the most significant sporting venues in New York City, like Yankee Stadium comes to mind, Madison Square Garden. In thoroughbred racing, it's right here. It's Aqueduct Racetrack, opened up in the late 1800s and site of some of the most significant moments in racing history.
Aqueduct is the only racetrack within the confines of the 5 boroughs of New York City and faced intense competition from several other tracks located in the vicinity. True to its nature, the racetrack not only survived, but thrived. Aqueduct underwent an extensive 3-year overhaul and reopened on September 15, 1959, to much fanfare, as it was one of the most modern facilities of its kind. In 1960, Aqueduct presented its first Wood Memorial. The race is New York's premier prep race for the Triple Crown and remains one of the track's signature events, along with the Cigar Mile Handicap and Remsen Stakes. Aqueduct was the first and only track to have a triple dead heat win in a stakes race when Brownie, Bousset, and Wait a Bit hit the wire in tandem. In 1965, it was the site of the largest crowd ever to witness a thoroughbred race at that time in the Empire State, when more than 73,000 packed the stands to see Gunbow in the Metropolitan Mile. The legendary Cigar began his famous 16-race win streak at Aqueduct. He scored impressively in the 1994 Naira Mile as part of that win streak. The race was named in Cigar's honor after he retired in 1997. The last racetrack Secretariat placed his hooves upon was Aqueduct. He was retired there before commencing his stud career at Claiborne Farm. Aqueduct was the second track to host the Breeders' Cup in 1985 and was one of the first sporting venues where Pope John Paul II held Mass in 1995.
Just amazing. Some of the biggest moments in thoroughbred racing that have happened right there in front of that building, that grandstand on this racetrack. Aqueduct, Richie, I feel like we could spend the next couple of hours having this conversation. I know it's a difficult one for you to answer. Like, what does Aqueduct mean to you?
Well, it was the first place I've ever attended the races. I was, I came here as a kid with my father coming out on the subway from Brooklyn. Saw the 1975, I think, Toboggan Handicap. Told my father on the train home that night I was going to win. I was going to be a jockey. I was going to win the Toboggan Handicap. Won 6 of them. Coming here for the Wood Memorial, getting Eddie Maples goggles when he won the Wood Memorial and Believe It. And then when I won the Wood Memorial, knowing I was going to be on that wall that I had studied as a kid on the 3rd floor with all the winners. And I could have told you every trainer, owner, rider, horse that ever won it at that time. Now my memory's not so good. But this has been my home track. I grew up 9 miles from here.
All-time leading Aqueduct jockey, Richie Migliori. It's amazing to fulfill that dream, telling your dad, I'm going to win that race. 6 toboggans, as you mentioned, and your 3,000th career victory right here at Aqueduct. What comes to mind about that particular afternoon?
Yeah, well, it was a lot of anticipation. You get to these milestones, and you're trying to get through it, and Carmela and the kids were out. Carmela's mom was still alive. She came out. And I was on a filly for John Kimball, moving on the outside in the red colors that I liked a lot. A first-time starter, Bell's Appeal. I had been working her. And I wanted my stick down because I wanted the picture to look good, so that's why I'm hitting underhanded here. But this horse wouldn't go away. Chucky Lopez on the inside, and I'm like, man, I'm getting desperate. I have to turn this thing over, but I stayed pretty cool, and I got the picture that I wanted for my 3,000s with a good hand right
there. It is. Strong finishing, Richie Migliori. You're a humble guy, Richie. I appreciate it. I respect it. How proud are you of that title? Aqueduct's all-time leading jockey.
Well, extremely. And to be fair to so many great riders that came before me, they didn't have winter racing like I did, where I could pad the statistics, to be honest. And I stayed here a lot of winters because I liked staying here in the winter. I liked going home and having dinner with my family, being home at 5:30 at night. Where you go to Florida, you're not done till late. We never believed in taking the kids out of school and moving them around. So it was like a perfect balance. We're always looking for a balance of personal and professional. That was a good balance for me.
Told you he was humble. I don't think a lot of, because of the road to like the Kentucky Derby, the road to the Wood Memorial, as you saw in that feature, New York's premier Kentucky Derby prep race. Before American Pharoah, before Justify, I think like 8 of the 11 Triple Crown winners at one point had performed here at Aqueduct. Some of the incredible performances, great careers, Cigar launching that winning streak, having took place right here, and what this venue has meant to the sport of thoroughbred racing over the years.
Well, Secretariat ran his first 2 races here at Aqueduct. He was beaten first time, got left at the gate, got bounced around, and then he came back and won with Paul Feliciano aboard. For people that don't know, that's a good trivia question you could answer if you're ever in that situation. And then Ron Turcotte, who had been injured, then got the mount when he went forward. But they used to have an Aqueduct meet here before Saratoga. They would come back to Aqueduct for a few weeks and then go to Saratoga. So you would be here in July. You'd go to Belmont, be there for a few minutes, then come back to Aqueduct, and then go to Saratoga.
We're here for a good time and a long time, just week 2 of the winter meet here at Aqueduct. And tomorrow, the New York Stallion Series does continue. A big part of this story is the purses here and 2-year-old races with a $500,000 purse, and hence the big field when you roll out that kind of money. New York Stallion Series, Great White Way. You see the field here, and Unique Unions drawn inside, who was vanned off in his debut, and then came back and did this in the second career start. Unique Unions, but again, does have to deal with the fence tomorrow.
He does, but he showed very good speed in the second start, and he drew off. And I thought he was very impressive. Rick Schosberg had him trained to the minute. And when a horse is vanned off or there's some sort of a mishap, there's protocols before a horse is allowed to run. So when you see these horses, you can have confidence that they have been, checked under the hood, and they have gone through these protocols to make sure that they're healthy and competing. So don't let that really deter you. This horse was impressive and showed good speed. Does have to overcome the rail, but when you have speed, that helps a rider get their position going forward.
A lot of 2-year-old races with $500,000 purses when you were doing your thing?
No, not at all. I actually, was fortunate to win a couple of these Stallion Stakes races along the way. I think they were about 100,000 back at that time. And for people that don't know, you don't have to be a New York bred to be eligible for these races, but you have to be by a sire that stood in the state of New York at time of conception.
Yeah, something to pay attention to, and often a misconception with this New York Stallion Series. That's the boys, and then you have the girls in the 5th Avenue tomorrow here at Aqueduct. You take a look at the field and morning line. Again, another $500,000 purse, and Morning Matcha, who is the 8-5 morning line favorite with Kendrick Carmouche aboard, been doing her thing at Park. So how is that form going to transfer? What are you expecting from her based on what you've seen from her races at Parks?
She's been very good. She's got very strong form coming in here. She's just kind of taking these horses at will. And you see when she's hit in the front here with Kendrick Carmouche, her ears kind of go up. That's a sign a horse is not all in. They've got another gear if they need it, and she powers away. Now, she is turning back to 7/8, but as readily as she took this field by the time they turned for home, I don't think 7/8 is going to be an issue. I do think there's some interesting horses she has to contend with, but she's going to be very, very tough. The 5, Yo Cuz, is very interesting, a maiden from Bill Mott who broke very slow on debut and actually finished well going 6 furlongs after taking a lot of kickback. If she just naturally breaks a little better in her second start and get a little better position, I think she'll improve a great deal.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
2-year-olds running for big money. $500,000 purse tomorrow. New York Stallion Series continues. We'll have it for you right here on FS2, America's Day at the Races. A Great White Way for the boys. 5th Avenue for the fillies. That's tomorrow. On Sunday, a couple more stakes races with the Queens County and the Graves End, all coming your way from the Big A this weekend on America's Day at the Races. Also, but our friend and colleague Tom Amos. You just saw those Cash is King colors at Parks. Seen them also win a Kentucky Oaks. Tom Amos has won a Kentucky Oaks for Joel Politi. We'll ask Tom Amos what his favorite race was. Won't take a lot of imagination to see what exactly that one was. Stay tuned.
Precocity.
Strategic speed. Some speed at 2, but can carry it on through their later careers.
Improbable, full of run.
Improbable, now a Grade 1 winner. It is a complete runaway, an authoritative run. It's improbable to win the Whitney.
My favorite race is the 2019 Kentucky Oaks with my horse, Serengeti Empress, crossing the finish line first, and everything that she brought to us with that win. I don't know what it's like to actually be an athlete in a major event, but I think that walkover is about as close a feeling as you can get to it, because you just feel electric inside.
They're off in the Kentucky Oaks.
I really wasn't watching her out of the gate because a horse had stumbled and lost its rider. And I immediately turned to that horse to make sure she was okay. And then I turned my attention back to Serengeti Empress, who was making the lead going to the first turn and saving ground from the 13 hole. That was the plan. So everything to this point is going great. My wife had turned to me and said, 46 and change, that is too quick for a half mile. And I turned and I said, not for my horse, it's not. Turning for home, I thought she cut the corner great. She's going to take a challenge right here. And I'm like, uh-oh. But when Serengeti sees this filly out of the corner of her eye, she re-brakes, takes off, and it's right about here where I realize I'm going to win the Kentucky Oaks.
As they come down to the line, Serengeti Empress has taken the Kentucky Oaks.
I remember raising my hands like this, and then one of my friends patted me on the back, and I lost my balance. And I fell into my daughter, and I fell into my wife, and we hit the floor. And everybody piled on like it was like we just won the World Series. I must have thought about a million things at the same time, but the most overwhelming thought in my head was my parents. And I always hoped I could do something in their lifetime that would make them proud, a signature race, and this was it for me. I mean, how do you describe something that just makes everything in the world seem great? I don't know what's in the future for Tom Amos Racing Stable, what big races might be out there, but for me, this will be the one, and she'll be the one. I'll never, ever forget her.
How do you describe it? The way you just did, Tom. Love that piece. Describing that moment with Serengeti Empress and the great post-race celebration in the history of post-race celebrations.
That was fantastic, and that's what made Serengeti Empress so special. Was a lot of horses have speed, but when they get caught, that's usually game over. She would have speed, get caught, and then fight you. She was a barroom brawler. She did not want to lose. Her determination was amazing, and man, friends like that, the guy knocked him over.
You win the Kentucky Oaks, you can tackle your wife and daughter. You say she's a brawler. You remember her ballerina? The heat she took, the heat she... I was with Tom that day, the pride, and you could feel it in that piece and the emotional connection with Serengeti Empress. So much fun to just watch from a distance. My favorite race, Tom Amos, that Kentucky Oaks victory a couple of years ago. Here, we have fillies and mares going a mile and a 16th, $62,000 allowance optional claimer at Oaklawn at a muddy track. You saw Aura. Here's a W.W. Fitzy, a contender.
Stretching back out in distance, showed decent speed. Sprinting should be a part of the pace.
West Side Girl, not pictured. You're looking at the favorite, Jilted Bride for Steve Asmussen.
Yeah, Jilted Bride, 6 starts at Oaklawn, has never been worse than third. 2 wins, 2 seconds, 2 thirds. Certainly a major player here coming out of the turn back of the alarm.
Wellington Wonder would be a big surprise.
Would be a big surprise, but you get David Cabrera, a rider that perennially does very, very well at Oaklawn.
15-1 shot here at number 6, Hyper Nova, Giovanni Franco aboard.
Tom Amos with a horse that has speed sprinting. Tom, a trainer, not bashful about allowing his horses and riders to use their speed.
They all have to beat this filly. Not favored, though. Second choice in the wagering. Coach and Brad Cox looking for a third winner this afternoon.
Yeah, last seen in the Grade 1 Kentucky Oaks. Finished third in the Fantasy at Oaklawn last year at a graded stake.
There's West Side Girl.
West Side Girl, Jerry Hollendorfer looking for another win. And get David Cohen, who I feel like has kind of found his form again recently. I think he was struggling a little bit maybe with confidence, but David looks like he's in a good place.
David Cohen teaming up with Jerry Hollendorfer here. West Side Girl, 6-5 though on number 4, Jilted Bride. Hall of Famer Gary Stevens still with us with thoughts on this 8th race. And our friend and colleague, Tom Amos. Gary, your thoughts watching that piece. And don't matter how many times we've watched it, how much fun it is watching him relive that Kentucky Oaks win.
I'll tell you what, Tom's a team player. There's a lot of people know, some people don't know I'm representing Giovanni Franco now, and Tom's being a team player with us on Fox during the summer at Saratoga, and he's being a team player with me. So I'm hoping, after listening to that piece, that he put some polish, some of that Serengeti Empress polish on Hyperbowl. And listen, there's other speed in the race, but I don't think they have her kind of speed. Don't know what the instructions were to Giovanni, but I think I know what they were, and that was to go to the lead. And, you know, if he gets hooked, he gets hooked. But looks like the speed of the speed to me. But listen, it's going to be tough to beat Coach in here today. It's going to be tough to beat Jilted Bride. I realize that the numbers of their best races stand above the rest of this field. But I'm going to keep my fingers crossed anyway, guys.
Fingers crossed. Gary representing Giovanni Franco, trying to pull off a mild upset here. Hypernova, Coach the favorite, 3-2. JK, your thoughts on the 8th race? And I remember what a big fan you were also of the Speed Demon, the classy multiple Grade 1 winner Serengeti Empress.
Yeah, look, I ended up being a huge fan of Serengeti Empress, but here's the truth. Before I even became friendly with Tom, I was at the Kentucky Oaks with some friends, and I did not bet on Serengeti Empress. One of them did. When we were leaving, they were boasting. And I said, I bet you she'll never win another Grade 1 race. So for this entire time befriending Tom and being his friend, I was basically rooting against Serengeti Empress to win every Grade 1 race that she was in. And she finally got me, and I had to pay up on that large wager that still haunts me to this day. But I told Tom the truth about that. I felt very bad rooting against him every time he was in a Grade 1. But here's what I will say. Speaking of the Kentucky Oaks, when a horse like Coach, who's on the Kentucky Oaks trail and runs in the Kentucky Oaks, comes back off of a layoff and is not favored in her, kind of last start as a 3-year-old, that's a problem for me. And it means that, in my opinion, she's probably not ready to run. It's what I like to call the opposite of the obvious. When you're in Vegas and you look up there in the NFL season and the last year's Super Bowl champ is a 5-point underdog at home, they're probably not going to play well. It's the opposite of the obvious. I'm going to go with the 4 Jilted Bride. She's taking all the money, and the money's typically right.
JK going with Jilted Bride. When Vegas is begging you to do something, like, don't do it. Don't do it. We'll see if that applies here with Coach, a second choice, 8-5. But here's why Coach was in the Kentucky Oaks. Richie, we go back to the fantasy and Oaklawn's prep for the Kentucky Oaks, the top quality 3-year-old fillies we've seen in this race over the years. Coach, there she is with eventual winner Pauline's Pearl right alongside. Coach, under encouragement, engaging the eventual winner.
Yeah, and had to come wide. She was spun out about 4 or 5 wide, turning for home, and had dead aim, and she punched her ticket to go to the Kentucky Oaks. She hasn't been seen since. She's got a terrific conditioner in Brad Cox. Kind of find it interesting, right? The Coach gets Ricardo Santana riding for Brad Cox. The one Aura from the Steve Astos gets Florent Giroux, who's normally Brad Cox's
won a couple of races together already.
A little bit of musical jockeys going on. Steve's also got the more fancy, the 4 Jilted Bride. Ramon Vasquez has been riding tremendously there. And as he does every year, he's always one among the leaders.
What do you think? Why is Jilted Bride favored over Coach here?
I think just a recency. She's a 4-year-old against a 3-year-old who hasn't been seen since that Kentucky Oaks start. She's coming out of the turn back the alarm, Grade 3 stake here at Aqueduct. Her numbers are good. I think the recency, though, is the difference.
In terms of style, where do you expect Jilted Bride early with Ramon Vasquez, and what does the race shape look like early? What are you expecting right when the gates open?
Well, I do think Hypernova is probably the speed of the speed here coming out of sprints. There is some other speed in here. Aura can, certainly be a part of that pace. WW Fitzy at times, and she's also stretching back out, has shown some speed. But I do think Hypernova is the speed of the speed. I think Jilted Bride's just naturally maybe a little quicker than Coach, but sometimes horses coming off of layoffs are a little bit sharper. But I do think Jilted Bride will be probably in front of Coach, and then Coach has got to work out a trip. And if I'm on Coach and I find myself in behind Jilted Bride, well, she's live cover. We talked about Larry Zonka earlier of being a fullback. She's my fullback. I'm going to be Jim Kick to her, Larry Zonka, and follow her through the field.
Let her do the dirty work for you. Jilted Bride, nice long look. Bradley Thoroughbreds, Ramon Vasquez. What is the biggest difference? Not all wet tracks are created the same. Not all muddy tracks are created the same. When you're talking about riding on a wet, fast racetrack or a sloppy racetrack, what is the biggest difference to you when you see that you're going to be riding on a muddy track?
Well, you know, it seems like at Oaklawn, when they have a muddy track like this, they put a pretty good seal on it, meaning they pack the track down, so it's a little bit more compressed. They're going to run a little bit more over the top of the ground. You always want to be aware of what part of the track is playing well. Sometimes on muddy tracks for years at Belmont, you didn't want any part of the rail. But you have to be aware of that, and you have to pay attention. It's, you know, you don't want to be in the jockey's room just shooting pool or playing ping pong. You're paying attention. You're doing your work. You're doing your preparation. And then some horses react poorly to kickback, so you've got to have a plan B where you can put a horse so that they'll settle, get in a stride, not going up and down as much as going forward, and then make sure you have enough goggles.
About how many on a day like this you'd be wearing?
At minimum of 4, probably 5. You know, I tried not to sway too much because I didn't want a rider looking at my goggles in the post braid and going, oh, he's only got 3, he's going to show speed. I didn't want to give away anything, so if I was wearing 5, I'm going to wear 5 all the time.
Consistent. Don't want to give anything away. You ever pull them all down at the same time and you're just naked out there?
By accident. Angel Cordero did it with Pleasant Colony in the Travers. Watch that Travers. He had like 10 on because he couldn't keep enough goggles. The first turn, he pulled them down.
I got to go check
rode
that out.
the track race blind. I remember Angel flushing his eyes for 2 days.
I got to go check that out. Keep your goggles on, riders, one at a time on this muddy track. Post time, what will Coach do in her return? How about Jilted Bride for Steve Asmussen? We're all set for the Friday feature at Oaklawn. Rick Stauffer standing by.
They're at the post. They're off. Hypernova breaks sharply, so does Aura. Wellington Wonder is between horses. Coach is taken back, doesn't want to go 4 wide. West Side Girl is next. Then comes at the back of the pack both W.W. Fitzy, who broke a bit awkwardly, and Jilted Bride. Wellington Wonder from Hypernova to the backstretch. Wellington Wonder a neck in front. Hypernova is second by 1.5 lengths to a lineup of 3. Aura at the rail, West Side Girl between horses, and to the outside in Coach, and here's Coach into a joint 3rd and 2 from the front. Jilted Bride and W.W. Fitzy at the back of the pack. 5 lengths first to last. Wellington Wonder is the leader. Hypernova is even closer now in second. Wellington Wonder leads just by a head. Hypernova is second. Then it's 1.5 lengths. Still that lineup of 3. Aura at the rail. West Side Girl between horses and Coach 3 deep. And now here's Coach clearly into 3rd and 1.5 lengths from the front. Still at the back of the pack are W.W. Fitzy and Jilted Bride around the far turn. Wellington Wonder and Hypernova been there since they sprung the latch. Wellington Wonder still a hard-fought head in front. Coach is inching ever closer, trying to give Brad Cox his 3rd on the day, and we could have a new leader at the top of the stretch. Coach puts her neck in front. Meanwhile, Jilted Bride has moved up smartly 4 wide, and she's after Coach. That sets the stage for a good stretch battle between those two. It is Coach and Jilted Bride, and they come to the final furlong together. Coach is a neck in front. Jilted Bride is going to test her all the way to the wire, and Coach just might be up to that task. It is Coach and Jilted Bride. Coach, 3 wins, Brad Cox to win. Coach beat Jilted Bride by 2. Wellington Wonder was 3rd. Close for 4th between Aura and W.W. Fitzy.
Oaklawn feature comes down to the 2 headliners, and Coach, forget about the rust, rested up, comes back, unraced since the Kentucky Oaks. Coach digs in, finds more, repelling the late charge of Jilted Bride on the outside.
Yeah, Brad Cox, Ricardo Santana, his patented strong finish, and Coach was sharper. She put herself in the game. Coming off the layoff, she was laying 3rd, up close to the pace. Jilted Bride came with a big run, had every opportunity mid-stretch, just came up 2nd best today.
Any excuses whatsoever, Jilted Bride?
I didn't see any. It looked to me like she had dead aim, and Coach just kept finding.
And for Coach, you remember she started her career rattling off victory after victory after victory, a stakes win in the rags to riches. And then while she was running well, there was an extended losing streak. And she doesn't win the Kentucky Oaks, she doesn't beat Mouth, that's fine. But now the time off, freshened up, 1 final start as a 3-year-old filly. And based on that performance, is sitting on a big 4-year-old season moving
Yeah, it
forward.
looks like she should take a big step forward. Just natural maturation from, May of her 3-year-old year to now the end of the year. She looked like a bigger, stronger filly.
Coach at Oaklawn, John Velasquez, going to feel different without him riding this winter on the East Coast. There he is with Mariano Rivera. Both of them could flat out close. Johnny V headed to California this winter. Much more on that story when we come back.
This is the horse.
He is just too good.
This is the horse who became only the second champion 2-year-old to win the Travers in 3 decades. This is the horse who is the only Breeders' Cup juvenile hero ever to lift the Belmont Stakes. History-making brilliance. That's his essential quality. Essential quality. This is the horse. Just imagine.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than americasbestracing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. americasbestracing.net is a sport for you.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit nairabets.com.
Welcome back to America's Day at the Races, brought to you in part by Hillendale at Alapa. Coverage continuing from Oaklawn Park in Hot Springs, Arkansas. We just saw the feature. Ricardo Santana, coach, successful upon return and making her final start is a 3-year-old filly, a winning one at Oaklawn, holding off the favorite Jilted Bride.
Yeah, nice comeback for this filly, and just kudos to Brad Cox to have her ready. Ricardo Santana, 2 wins so far today, 1 for Jerry Hollendorfer, now 1 for Brad Cox, and that does wonders for his confidence that he's getting support from high-profile trainers and he's able to deliver for them as well. It's a good thing. Jilted Bride just came up second best on the day.
Coach looked good. 3-2 coach hit post-time. Cuba Racing, 3 wins on the afternoon. Brad Cox, Ricardo Santana, coach. Look forward to seeing her resurface as a 4-year-old filly, victorious upon her return at Oaklawn Park. Ricardo Santana, yeah, he's a world-class rider. 5 Grade 1 wins this past summer at Saratoga. John Velasquez, a Hall of Famer, world-class rider, one of the very best who's ever done it. The all-time leading jockey at Saratoga. Won multiple Kentucky Derbies, multiple Belmont Stakes. It's not just the work that he's done on the track, also the work that he's done off the track for his fellow riders. John Velasquez, an absolute legend, will spend this winter in Southern California, here in New York, where he's done most of his damage over the years, still riding at the highest of levels after being in the sport several decades.
John Velasquez is in the Hall of Fame and has captured 2 editions of the Belmont Stakes. He has 2 Eclipse Awards as champion jockey, has earned more money than any of his colleagues, and has won 4 Kentucky Derbies. However, his legacy continues to grow, not for what he accomplishes on the track, but for his actions when off the track. The 50-year-old has been instrumental in the success of many aspiring jockeys, such as the Ortiz brothers and Javier Castellano. Honored as the 2009 George Wolfe Memorial winner by his peers, Velasquez never fails to lend a helping hand, words of wisdom, financial support, or a smile to anyone he encounters.
John Velasquez is a role model for our industry, horse racing. And it's not only himself. He always tries to share for somebody else.
He's the person we look up to when I was on the jockey school. But when I get here, I get to know him. He played a big role for my career. He teach me a lot on the track, but he teach me a lot off the track
Everybody knows how good he is in the track, doing his job. He's a great jockey. He wins all kind of races. But besides of being a jockey, he's a great person.
Velasquez, who is second in Breeders' Cup victories with 18, also tirelessly promotes safety for jockeys. He has been the chairman of the Jockeys Guild since 2006 and has been on the board of directors for the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund since its inception that same year.
He not only himself, he always look out for somebody else, safety first, and always looking for making progress, helping the industry, helping the whole racing.
He's hard on me about the way I was riding, you know, a little too aggressive, so he started telling me, try to don't do that because you're gonna lose more in the long way, so he tried to teach me good things, so thanks him.
I think, you know, he's going to have multiple legacies. One of them is going down as one of the greatest riders of all time, but also someone who gave a lot back to the game, you know, and especially with the Jockeys Guild, contributes so much to his fellow riders.
The first jockey to win more than 2,000 races at Belmont Park, Velasquez continues to ride high. His impact on the industry, however, transcends his performance in the saddle and will do so for decades to come.
Well, it's a lot of sacrifices and a lot of discipline, you know, to stay, you know, year after year after year. First of all, you have to be healthy and be blessed, you know, to be here, though, you know. And also, I'm being blessed with the people that I work with and the people who give me opportunity to stay here, to still here. So I think that's all it takes.
The jockey the jockeys look up to. John Velasquez, the accomplishments, there's not enough room on the screen, the career that he's had. Richie, what is the first thing that comes to mind when somebody mentions John Velasquez?
Consistency is the first word that comes to mind. He's incredibly consistent with his approach, his preparation, and how he rides. He doesn't have off days. He's consistent that way as a professional. Personally, to watch him mature, I remember him coming here when he spoke very little English. He came here from Puerto Rico, out of the jockey school there, was living on Angel Cordero's couch, meeting him in the room and just how young he was, how he's matured and how selfless he's been with his time and his efforts, causes for jockeys, the Permanently Disabled Riders Fund, the Jockeys Guild, on and on and on. And, you know, you had three prime examples, riders there that look up to him as a role model because he takes the time to talk and explain and educate and teach. You know, when Johnny first came around, you knew he had ability. What you don't know about a rider, it's like horses. Can they overcome adversity? And I often wondered early about Johnny, you know, how's he going to react when he gets banged up the first time he gets hurt? All jockeys get hurt. And he absolutely has come back better every time he's been injured. And he's had some serious injuries. His injury at the Breeders' Cup, you know, he could have lost his life. It was internal bleeding. They figured it out. They saved him. He came back with the same enthusiasm, the same desire, no hesitancy whatsoever. That's why he's been a champion for as long as he's been a champion.
Gary, one of the very best to have ever done it, John Velasquez, but this winter is going to be a little bit different. How much of a challenge is this going to be? Not necessarily just for him, but for a rider in general, going to a different part of the racetrack, riding at a different venue. How much of a challenge is this going to be for John Velasquez?
It won't be a challenge for him, in my opinion, for the fact that Johnny has ridden all over the world with success, not just here in the United States, but all over the world. And he knows the jock's room, he knows the jockey colony very well at Santa Anita, where he'll be based for the winter time. Trust me, Ron Anderson's going to have him on some airplanes, traveling to Gulfstream, traveling to where the big money is. I'm sure he'll make a couple trips in here to Oaklawn Park. A couple trips into Aqueduct when they start running some of their Road to the Kentucky Derby races. So he's very comfortable, I think, in any jockey's room that he's in. One of his best friends, co-chairman on the Jockeys Guild, Mike Smith, he's out there. So he's going to ride plenty of horses for Bob Baffert in the future, I would say, because he's ridden so many for him over the last several years, and they've grown to have an alliance together. So I think he's going to be very comfortable. It's going to be a change in scenery for him. I don't know what he's going to do with that yacht that he has in South Florida. Maybe he's going to be making some trips on the dark days back out to Gulfstream Park and be able to get on that boat a little bit. But I'm looking forward to watching what he can do out there. He's going to have plenty of horses and plenty of opportunities out there, guys.
Regarded as, again, one of the best position riders in the sport for someone newer to the sport, newer viewers following horse racing. What does that mean, great position rider?
Getting your position going forward, putting horses in a position to win from, not leaving them too much to do, not getting them overly involved if it's a hot pace. A guy that always consistently finds his position going forward, saving ground. You know, I was thinking about what Gary said. He's going to be fine out in California because you walk into a room. He's Johnny Velasquez. His name supersedes anything. He comes in a room, he commands instant respect. It's a lot like when your dad would come from the West Coast to ride at Belmont in the fall championship meet. You know, there was a reverence. Shoe coming in, Bill Shoemaker, Chris McCarron. These riders would come in, and as a young rider, you'd see them come in the room, and it was like you held them in such reverence.
In such high regard. John Velasquez, and this winter out in Southern California, 18 Breeders' Cup victories, the multiple Kentucky Derbies, the Belmont Stakes, the jockeys look up to John Velasquez. What about the horse the fans look up to over this last season? One truly appreciated. The winner of the Vox Populi Award, Hot Rod Charlie, one of the finest 3-year-olds in the nation. Stay tuned. You're watching America's Day of the Races.
It's a domineering display by the ultra-talented McKinsey. McKinsey Preservationist Vito Rosso and Yoshida. McKinsey's in front.
McKinsey, they've done it. McKinsey has it by 2. It's McKinsey in a dominant performance. Pure class in the Malibu.
That is absolutely gorgeous. Christmas tree at Rockefeller Center. You're watching America's Day at the Races, as always brought to you in part by Naira Bets, but any track, anywhere, anytime with Naira Bets. Get started at nairabets.com or download the app. Ever take the family down to Rockefeller Center this time of year?
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll see the Rockettes, Radio City Music Hall, the Christmas show. It was a great tradition.
Something very special this time of year in New York City. Here we are at Aqueduct, in one of the more popular racing venues. We showed you some of the history of the Big A, the significance. One of the more popular thoroughbreds in racing this year, and recipient of the Vox Populi Award, Hot Rod Charlie. Top class 3-year-old. Here he is in the Pennsylvania Derby. Richie, Hot Rod Charlie, Vox Populi Award winner.
Yeah, I mean, very nice racehorse. We saw him mugging Midnight Bourbon again there, turning for home. You know, I'm really excited to see him as a 4-year-old, a horse with a beautiful stride that you think will continue to improve and grow up as he matures. I'll be honest with you, I was surprised he was voted this. To me, he's like the Sonny Liston of horse racing. He mugged Midnight Bourbon in the Haskell. He mugged him again in the Pennsylvania Derby. And You got
Tells
the
you a lot
Iron
about
Man
what
or
we
tough
value
guy.
in 2021.
Absolutely. Tough Guy Award, maybe.
It's amazing how when we think back to his Breeders' Cup Juvenile as a 2-year-old, we figured that would be the claim to fame. 94-1, second place finisher. That sometimes you see that it's fluky, horses don't train on, and by the end of the season, one of the finest 3-year-olds in North America.
Oh, absolutely. Showed it was no fluke. And listen, I like the horse. I'm a fan of the horse. I was laughing when he got that award. I was like, okay, it just surprised me.
How does he always find himself right in the thick of things?
Well,
as he does.
I think it was a bad circumstance at Monmouth. He was drifting. Paco Lopez on Midnight Bourbon that day, instead of steadying straight, he kind of steadied and came out over heels. And I think it added to, what transpired. I'm not taking the onus off of him or Flavian Pratt. And then in the Pennsylvania Derby, the rail was so dead that day. Everybody was trying to stay wide. And then he jumped his right lead early coming off the corner, already trying to be wide. So that carried him out a little further. That was just a mistake, if you will. I don't think it was – he didn't mean to hip check him. But
Not afraid to mix it up. Likes to fight guy, Hot Rod Charlie. Chuck, recipient of the 2021 Vox Populi Award winner. Look forward to seeing him as a 4-year-old. And his next start in San Antonio, out at Santa Anita. We have one left at Oaklawn. 9th race, $10,000 claimer. Horses making their way out onto the track. Have that post parade. We'll check in with Gary Stevens. Look ahead to the nightcap at Oaklawn. Live coverage continuing on America's Day at the races. Tomorrow, that inaugural running of the $200,000 tinsel. Stay tuned. One left at Oaklawn.
And on the morning of the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need to create the noblest of all creatures. So God made a racehorse. He needed a horse that is faster, smarter, sleeker, and sounder, so God made a racehorse. He created an animal sound of wind with oversized nostrils to breathe fire like a dragon and turn oxygen into rocket fuel. He gave it a kind eye so his caretaker could look into his soul. And then on the afternoon of the 8th day, God realized that he needed an animal that was even swifter, smarter, and sounder.
An animal that can compete on the world stage and win iconic races like at Royal Ascot.
So God created a legend. The legend lives on at Alapa.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. Use promo code TRYRTN for a 5-day free trial.
Great to have you with us on America's Day at the Races. Live coverage continuing from Oaklawn. Gearing up for the 9th race on the Friday program on a Muddy Track Post Parade. $10,000 claimers, non-winners, 2 lifetime, all one for something. There's My Little Tipsy.
Yeah, My Little Tipsy, one of like 7 horses coming out of the same race. He was well beaten on the December 3rd start at Oaklawn.
Sporty Flyer was not in that race.
Comes out of Remington Park, more of a closing sprinter. The Remington Park form actually outperformed here last year early.
It absolutely did. Here is a stud puppy, much more on his Hall of Fame trainer in a moment. Nick Zito.
Yeah, turning back in distance, getting back to sprinting, staying at the $10,000 level.
Fun and Funny, David Cabrera aboard.
Another one of those horses coming out of that December 3rd Oaklawn Park effort. Was a close-up 4th.
The favorite, Hard to Park, Kelsey Harr aboard, 5-2.
Hey, I thought he worked out a good trip, rallied up the rail out of that December 3rd race.
Winless in 8 tries on wet tracks, however, hard to park. Number 6, Beaumont and Beau. It's 6-1.
Horse turning back in distance, has run well sprinting. I think a major player here.
24 race maiden. Access. Wow.
Another one coming out of that December 3rd effort was well beaten.
Familiar Ways here, 20-1 first start on a wet track.
Another horse very well beaten in that last effort.
Papa Star contender towards the outside. Ricardo Santana looking to sweep the late double.
Yeah, I just don't, I'm sorry. Yeah, this horse, I don't know what happened to him last time. I thought he was, going to be more of a contender, and he just really threw in the towel last time.
Johnny Court, Cat's Hitman towards the outside.
Another horse out of that effort, December 3rd, that just didn't show a lot. This is one of those races you feel like chaos can ensue. Lower level horses, off racetrack. I think I look to the middle of the field more. I do like Hard to Park coming out of that effort last time on December 3rd. And Beaumont Beau is very interesting to me. So maybe you've got the Kelsey Haar over Chelsea Bailey exacta.
or maybe you just look towards a Hall of Fame trainer, Gary Stevens. Nick Zito, 2-time Derby winner. You won some big races for him, represented by Stud Puppy here.
Yeah, the great commentator won the Whitney on him. Riding for Nick Zito was always a thrill for me. I would fly in. It didn't matter if I was riding horse for Wayne Lucas, Bob Baffert, he would always find a horse for me to ride on the undercard, and they won a majority of the time that I rode for him. Nick's a competitor. He's a fighter. He's seen the days when he's had the great horses. He's looking for that again. I spent a lot of time with him the other morning down at his barn, and he's still very positive, wanting to get after it. He's here every morning working hard, and Nick's he's a fighter. He's got that New York attitude. He's not a quitter, and he doesn't plan to quit soon. But just a thrill to ride for, and I'm always rooting for Nick, and he can get you motivated, really get you motivated. So good luck in here, Nick. I hope you get the money, buddy.
Gary, what comes to mind when you think back to that storied Whitney and that performance by commentator trained by Nick Zito, considering the race, how it unfolded, and just how popular commentator was as an individual?
Well, he was one of the most followed horses. He had a huge following in New York, and I'd worked him a week before the Whitney, and I loved the way that he had worked. He gave me the right feel, and it was my feeling St. Liam was in the race, and heavy favorite, and I just felt like if I got away with some decent fractions early on, he was the type of horse that he would only go as fast as they made him go, but he would not let a horse by him, as we found out about a month later at Belmont Park when St. Liam was in, and Rick Dutrow sent 2 rabbits out, and they did their job, and it was a well played job that his 2 riders did. And look, we finished a bad 4th that day, but we got away with some easy fractions, and down the backside, I rode her pretty much the same way as I rode Winning Colors in the Kentucky Derby. When I hit the 3/8 pole, I kicked him in gear, tried to open up an insurmountable lead, and was able to do it. And it was a huge upset, but in my mind, it wasn't an upset that day. I loved him going into the race, and it all worked out.
2-time Derby winning trainer Nick Zito, Strike the Gold 91, Go for Gin 94. New York has produced some pretty good horsemen over the years, Richard Migliori.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah. And Nick actually grew up pretty much in the shadow of Aqueduct, not far from here as well. Listen, it's horse racing, and if you don't have stock, it's hard to make. You can only make a horse run as fast as they're capable of running, and at the end of the day, riders, trainers, owners, all of us, we're only as good as the stock that we get to work with.
You come up with that? Zito is Nito?
Nah,
that has your fingerprints all over it.
It's not.
You come up with that?
That's not me.
He's not. Nick Zito, absolute legend, and trying for a victory here at Oaklawn with Stud Puppy. There you're looking at Beaumont Beau, who is 6-1. JK, we'll call it the get-out race. Why not? The last race of the show. What do you think? JK altogether? Does he like JK? Well, that's we have the information that the viewers are interested in. JK likes the 6 and the 7. Beaumont Beau Access, maybe part of the reason for the affinity for Beaumont Beau was this effort. This was 2 starts back at Indiana, Richie, late October. Beaumont Beau from off the pace, rallies late, gonna miss by about a half length in the end.
Man, this was going 5.5 furlongs, so he gets another 1/16 of a mile to work with today. And, you know, he makes a lot of sense to me. He stretched back out to the 1:70, maybe a little bit further than he wants to go, a little bit out of his scope. Now he's 6 furlongs. Maybe it's the Goldilocks effect.
Right.
Just right. Not too far, not too short. But I think this was a major contender and really made a nice impression here on the racetrack. I like what I'm seeing.
Beaumont Beau, and you're right. You get the sense you run this race 10 times, you could get 9 to 10 different winners, $10,000 claimers, non-winners 2 lifetime. A little will go a long way. Beaumont Beau, who is currently 6-1, but that is the favorite, Richie. Correction, the 5 is the favorite. Hard to Park at 3-1. If Hard to Park, who comes in 1 for 37. Okay, so you're not conceding 2-5, I get it. But he is the favorite at 3-1, and the lifetime record is difficult to ignore, even if they are all 1 for something.
Oh, absolutely. But I think the last race was good enough that kind of points him out, and I understand why he's the favorite. I think it's hard to take anybody at too short a price in here. 3-1 is probably the threshold, you know, just because it's so competitive. And again, we talk about it, lower level horses aren't as consistent. That's one of the reasons why they're lower level horses. So, you know, and he is pretty washed out. The other thing, too, he's coming back in 2 weeks, you know, which can kind of be a fairly quick turnaround.
Little washed out, as Richie mentioned, but is the tepid favorite. Have we reconnected with JK? JK, well, did you still like 6-7 in this 9th at Oaklawn?
No, in the time that my camera battery died, I decided to change. No, I do. I still like the 6 and the 7. The 6 Beaumont Beau. Look, this is it's not a great group, right? It's a lower level. I'm looking for something that's going to be finishing when the rest of them are stopping. The 6 Beaumont Beau on the cutback, I'm hoping will be finishing. And then the 7 Axis was another one who I thought, you know, wasn't particularly fast last time, but has back races where this horse has shown some speed. So I'm hopeful that the 7 Axis can be a little bit more forward. If someone tells you they love a horse in this race, they're lying. Delete their phone number and do not associate yourself with them.
Access, who does have 4 second-place finishes on wet tracks, the maiden. Yeah, look, JK, what is the biggest adjustment you make immediately? Let's say we'll take both extremes. You're handicapping a Grade 1 race. You're handicapping this race, lower-level claiming race. What is the biggest difference for you, the handicapper?
Well, I think the biggest thing is when you're looking at a Grade 1 race, you know so many things about these horses. Twitter, the racing form. On these shows, there's been features over these horses. You know, Monomoy Girl, you've heard basically that her birthday and what she likes to eat. So I think when those situations happen, you know everything there is to know. When you're dealing with these 10 claimers, there's so many stories that you don't know. I mean, why did Axis go 6 furlongs last time in that race? Well, did they try to go in a different race and it didn't go? Is the horse, you know, developing the muscle issue? You know, there's so many things you just don't ever know. With the bigger races, you have a better idea. So I play the bigger races with more confidence. I tread a little lighter in these situations when it comes to like making a strong opinion or selection.
All right, well, your selections here are 6-7, Beaumont Beau and Access. See how it all unfolds. 9th and final. From Oaklawn, Vic Stauffer, one final time.
And Cat's Hitman. They're at the post. They're off. Cat's Hitman broke very well, so did Familiar Ways, and at the rail, My Little Tipsy. Beaumont Beau, Fun and Funny, and Stud Puppy are next. Then comes Papa Star and Axis with Hard to Park, and the trailer is Sporty Flyer. Up the backstretch they run, and it is Familiar Ways to sprint clear. Familiar Ways a 2-length lead on Cat's Hitman in second. My Little Tipsy is third at the rail and 3 from the front. Then Fun and Funny and Beaumont Beau together as a team, 4th and 5th, and on the move within 4 of the lead. Hard to Park has 6 lengths to make up, a length in front of Axis, then Parpa Star and Stud Puppy, and far behind the field is Sporty Flyer, and at the top of the stretch it is Familiar Ways, but here comes Cat's Hitman and here comes Beaumont Beau. Cat's Hitman, the new leader at the top of the stretch. Beaumont Beau is run up into second, Fun and Funny is third, My Little Tipsy fourth, and Cat's Hitman is now 2.5 lengths clear. My Little Tipsy is next, then Papa Star and Beaumont Beau, but it's Cat's Hitman, a 16th out with a 4-length lead. My Little Tipsy is second. Michael Hewitt going to win the first and the last. Cat's Hitman, yes. Cat's Hitman won by 5.5. My Little Tipsy was second. Hard to Park third, and Fun and Funny finished fourth.
John Court, Cat's Hitman, in this 9th and final at Oaklawn. Second lifetime win in 12 career starts, both of them right here at Oaklawn.
The ageless John Court.
The People's Court.
Fired Cat's Hitman out of the gate, had this horse in position every step of the way, took the lead turner for home, and John Court winning at better than 22% at this early Oaklawn stand.
It won a stakes race last weekend.
Yeah.
Tomorrow stakes racing at Oaklawn with the Tinsel, Lone Rock going in. Robertino Diodoro also has Thomas Shelby, a couple of Win Machines. That's the feature tomorrow. Oaklawn right here at Aqueduct. New York Stallion Series and 2-year-olds running for some big money. A couple of $500,000 purses. We'll have it all for you right here on America's Day at the Races. For Richie Migliori, I'm Lafitte Pinkai, Maggie Wolfendale, Gary Stevens, Jonathan Kinchin. Thanks so much for joining us. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. America's Day at the Races on Fox Sports 2. Some of the highlights from this afternoon. Eloquent speaker in the featured event here at Aqueduct. That quick turnaround, 6 days off, first after the claim, and right to the winner's circle in the feature at Aqueduct. And coach, unraced since the Kentucky Oaks, comes back one final start as a 3-year-old filly. Too much class in the Oaklawn feature with Ricardo Santana. Big afternoon for Brad Cox, 3 wins at Oaklawn. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.